Afraid of what exactly? I can go look it up. I was just curious since it was your topic.
Do you live in the United States?
Yeah, I saw a few videos of the protest, but I didn't know what it was for. There's always something.
Well, veterans benefits have been cut. There've been firing thousands of people, thousands of federal workers. They've shut down a bunch of different federal jobs. A lot of different things. It basically comes down to all of the money that people hold so dear is being taken away from them.
Oh, okay, and you don't think that that's a bad, like, they should just, like, there's no point in doing that?
Oh, that is not at all what I said. But I know that a lot of people are kind of looking around and wondering what that protest did for them. And it didn't really do anything, but that's because these things take consistency.
I like the song in the background, by the way. That movie's great.
Thank you.
But okay, have a great night.
You too. I mean, you're welcome to stick around if you'd like, but I understand people have things to do. Stay safe out there. Hey, Jezebel. What's up, Mac? How you doing? How have you been, King?
All right, I suppose. It was a strange week, prolonged Mondayitis situation, but I suppose week is coming to the end and the Mondayitis with it too.
Mondayitis. I like that.
I don't ever slow up. I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. Everything I do so instinctive and so passionate. Every word I move so descriptive like an adjective. I got a vendetta against people who patented being negative when you should be getting after it. I got facts over tracks, this and that. Spitting slow, spitting fast, I could roast, I could gas. Think I'm okay at last, but I don't know if that can erase all the past. And the pettiness, a reflection of the emptiness. Hilarious, you think you're worth my time, you're delirious. Mysterious, because you hide behind a fake exterior. Inferior, you know I'll always be a bit superior. Get off of me, this ain't no humble brag. I want you to hear words, you can say them back. I want you to feel free from the chains at last, and to believe in what you got, it was built to last, yeah. Now that I've been put through hell, I never got anyone's help. I had to do it all myself. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love.
Hey Michelle, how you doing?
Good morning and good night. Good evening. I'm doing
How have
fine,
you been,
thank you.
hon?
Just a bit of the cold, but I'm fine.
You still experiencing that cold, huh?
Yeah, it's not been that bad. It's just I went out. I've been out in the sun, so I'm not making it any better.
Okay. Well, I hope you start feeling better soon.
It's just
Nothing
it's
like
just
a
a bit.
persistent cold.
It's just a bit of running nose at times.
Yeah.
Maybe a bit of cough. How are you?
Oh, you know, I'm alright.
All right.
Yeah. Life could be worse.
This is true.
Okay. Okay. Put that there. Okay. Alright. As per usual, the episode will start with 10K. So please feel free to tap, and we'll get started on this shortly. Shortly. Share this out to seeds real quick. A couple other people. Let's see. Dinklebird. So, does anybody have any fun plans for this weekend?
Yeah, I'm going out this afternoon with my partner.
Yeah?
Yeah,
Fantastic.
it's Friday. I was out yesterday, but with my friend. Well, I just
Oh,
picked
it's
up
early
at
morning for you, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like 8:30 in the morning.
Oh, I keep forgetting about that. So, what are you going to do
So
today?
I'll go to a bar and this afternoon with my partner.
Oh, that's this afternoon, though.
Yeah,
What do you consider the afternoon, and how early is too early to drink in the
12 o'clock. Noon.
UK? Okay. All right.
Well, that's afternoon, so
Fair enough. I mean, once noon hits, everything after that is afternoon.
well, this is true.
you mind sending out the seeds a few times? Thank you. Ooh, good song. So this last weekend, there was a nationwide protest in the United States. Over 3 million people attended. Welcome in, Christina. How are you? Hi, Christina. How are you doing? What's that?
Chris, I told you.
I've got to get off because I'm with Mum.
Okie dokie. Strange.
Strange. We're all strange.
I mean, we're all mad here.
That suits me. Insane. So your protest, so I take it nothing changed with all these people.
Well, that's the thing, is that nothing ever changes with the first really large protest, but 3 million people nationwide on the same day protested, and a lot of folks are probably going to be sitting in a state of confusion, and it really feels like everyone's kind of in a state of shell shock here. And I just want to have a conversation about it. Baggy, you better get your glorious ass in here.
Yeah, every
Baggy.
protest I've been in, nothing changed, but not that many people.
Yeah.
That was
Well,
like
that's
for fighting for like the children that had been like abused and things like that. So
yeah.
fighting for justice for the families.
Well, that's the thing about peaceful protesting, is that peaceful protesting is for show. It is for the chance to express in a public place with others who feel the same way. But it doesn't really get you anywhere. For example, I'm sure you've heard about Stonewall.
No.
Stonewall was the protest that took place that was one of the linchpins in the establishment of gay rights in the United States.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah. And, it was a bunch of sit-ins and stuff like that, but the thing that really made the difference was that first brick, And while I do have a deep love for peaceful protesting, I think people need to remember that change isn't something that comes with please and thank you.
It does not.
So you're suggesting that we buy all those work boots with the metal cap and write please on one and thank you on the other, and share them liberally around?
Well, I love that visual. No, I'm suggesting nothing of the sort. Glorious visual, though. That was fantastic. Why are we not closing properly? That's why. There we go. Hey. Michelle! Get in here, Michelle. You have to request in. I apparently am not allowed to just send you the invite.
I'm a lucky man.
Michelle, get in here, woman. Oh, she left too? Man, I'm going to have to yell at them. Her and Baggy both.
Oh, they're from my other group. My other wife.
Yeah. From the Anita lives and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Michelle,
Yeah,
get
that's
in
my
here.
group.
Patsy, get up.
Oh, they're not even here anymore. They left. Which makes me very sad, but that's okay.
They might be going to work, actually.
For shame.
Hey, you know, I'm gonna drop down.
Okay, then.
Fine.
Bye.
It's always a pleasure having you, King.
Don't let the door slam you on the way out.
What's the phrase? Don't let the door hit you or the good Lord split you.
Yeah.
Hey, Janura, how you doing? Hey, Janura, how you doing?
Hey, how's it going? I'm doing all right.
I figured we'd have a conversation today about last Saturday.
What was last Saturday?
Oh, what was last Saturday? Last Saturday was a nationwide protest where over 3 million people showed up.
Mm-hmm. What was that for?
An expression of frustration for the current administration.
Ah, okay. Yeah. Yeah, I didn't know anything about that.
Really?
Yeah.
Strange. Yeah, it was all over the
Despite
place.
me being very like I think the closest word to use to describe me would be radical.
Yeah.
I live in a bubble.
Hey, no worries, man. No worries.
I hang out with my child. I go to work. I look at memes and I read manga. That's it.
You know what? That sounds like a good life, my dude.
It's pretty sweet. Yeah.
I'm starting to get the impression that maybe it was not as publicized as one would expect.
Well, that's the thing, is that it was all over social media, but not everyone spends their time on social media. It was advertised. Well, advertised. It was live streamed on YouTube and TikTok and Instagram and Facebook and all over the place. And it had been. Christina, you want to come up and talk about it? I'd love to hear your take. We're actually going to be having a full-fledged discussion about it if you'd like to join. But it was fairly well publicized. But the amount of people who showed up versus the amount of people who are affected was definitely different. But it was also fairly well declared that the black community of the United States was going to sit this one out because, I mean, they never get listened to by our government. So it was time for those who've remained quiet while injustice happens constantly to get up and say something.
Oh snap! I happen to be black.
Oh, fantastic! So it's good that you stayed home then.
Convenient.
Yeah,
me and my child, we went swimming. We got ice cream. We watched Freakazoid. If anyone knows what that is.
Yeah. God, I missed that cartoon.
Yeah. And
that's a good one.
What is that, a cartoon?
Yeah, it was a cartoon from the late 90s, early 2000s. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh,
You
snap.
know,
I just realized what's the size of my mega super bubbled royal variety that fitting to me, I suppose. I knew that I had mandiitis and that it was complicated, but I missed the thing.
Yeah. Welcome in, Native.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going. We're gonna be having a discussion about last Saturday and moving forward from here. You interested?
Very.
Okay. So, what's your take on last weekend?
I think my take on everything that's in life is more that people don't have the ability to understand that we don't have the ability to win, even if we come together as a whole, but
Why?
we are constantly being separated.
Okay. I like the way you think.
So even if you separate us by color or by country, we're separated not only by that, but LGBTQ or being straight, being gay, being any of it. It's all a way to separate who we are.
Well, I mean,
The real
people have their
problem,
communities, you know.
yeah, I mean, yeah, of course you're gonna have your people that do certain things or are capable of doing certain things, but in reality, we are what our work is.
Which one of you is outside right now? Whoever's outside, can you mute your microphone, please? Thank you. I'm sorry, I missed a portion of that. What was you saying, bud?
The disagreement of the agreement that was taken from any which side was constantly wrong or right from either which side. I'm a
I
Native
think.
American and I
Go
can
ahead.
see the truth in what is happening in this world. And it takes a
Yeah.
lot for other people to understand the truth in this world, that it is constant separation. Old school, separate and control, or something like
Yeah.
that.
Divide and conquer.
Divide and conquer. So, what I see
May I
in
ask what
life
tribe you are,
isn't.
friend?
I'm Comanche Kiowa.
Oh, how's it going, cousin?
Ooh.
Lakota soup, by the way.
Oita taco aquí, paco e papazón.
No, I'm so separated from my family. I can only speak English, unfortunately.
Oh, okay. Well, orale, vato, what's happening? I'm just kidding.
Oh,
I'm currently speaking
but
sign language, but you guys can't tell.
It's tight. It's tight. Sign language is
fantastic.
good. But no, but basically that's what I'm saying is that there's a lot of people in this world fighting over something that they don't even really know that really existed to people that were here first. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
gonna say let's change the football preference symbol or let's change the baseball or none of that. I'm saying that we were looked up as to symbols, like we were looked up as strong, like a horse or a certain type of bird. I was
Mm-hmm.
completely against changing the symbol. I thought it looked good. I thought it made us look strong. But a lot of people out there that didn't even want to change it. I said that backwards. A lot of people that wanted to change it because they thought it was bad made it get changed because it was actually good to us, but they hated it so bad.
Like, unfortunately, and correct me if I'm wrong, but this is just my perception. Um, Indigenous people in America have had their voices stripped away. So, like, a lot of people in America, like, behave in a way or like speak in a way that they think is respectful to the indigenous population, while not necessarily knowing how the indigenous population feels about said thing.
Yeah, but that's any country.
yep.
Well, yeah, like Was I off base?
No.
No.
Clutch.
Well, I'm not going to worry about getting us up to Banish. Get up here. I'm not going to worry about getting us up to 10,000 likes to start the episode. I'm going to go ahead and get it started if y'all don't mind. I just have a short intro monologue to get through before we can get to the actual
Awesome.
discussion of
Pick up
things.
the amazing monologue.
What's the episode about?
This episode is what to do next.
Okay, I'm in.
Thank you. How's it going, Banish? Give me just 1 second, buddy. So, welcome everybody to another episode of Interviewing Humanity. As always, I'm your host, Sludge Knuckle, and tonight we're stepping into the aftermath. The cheers have faded, the signs are discarded, and the streets are emptied, but the injustice still standing. You marched, you screamed, you believed, 3 million plus of you, and still the world didn't change. So what do you do when the moment fades and the system remains? This episode isn't about shaming the effort, it's about sharpening it. Because resistance isn't one day in the streets. Resistance is what happens after. Tonight we're going to break down why mass protests rarely ever shift power, and how we reclaim the spark from those streets and transform it into a fire that burns through the foundations of injustice. We're joined, as always, by a revolving panel of everyday citizens, folks who showed up, folks who got hurt, folks who never left the street in the first place. They're not professors or pundits. They're not polished. They're real. And tonight, they're asking hard questions. What now? What next? And why didn't it work the first time? So let's break down the first part, the performance trap. Okay? When millions gather in the street, it looks like power. It feels like power. The drone shots are epic. The chants are thunderous. And for a moment, hope is tangible. But here's the trick. Performance is not transformation. Our culture rewards the appearance of action more than the impact, and so protest culture rewards theater for cameras, for hashtags, for politicians to nod at before returning to the boardroom. The state knows how to absorb performance. They build barricades, give permits, allow your shout into a designated zone. You scream, they wait. They always wait, because they know most people will go home. So we have to ask, who was the protest for? If it was for us to feel something, that's real, but it's not power. If it was to scare the system, it needs more teeth. So my first question for everybody on the panel, and for those who don't know, we kind of start up in the corners and work our way down person by person so everyone gets a chance to say their piece. I don't do debate lives. My first question is, have you ever left a protest feeling empowered only to feel hopeless a week later, and why? And we're going to start off with Loon.
Not really. I know it doesn't accomplish actual change on its own, but the thing for me is that protesting alerts more people that it's becoming a bigger and bigger issue. So all those people who sit at home and say, it's not real, it's not happening, they have to look at all of these people, sometimes their friends and family, who can touch them in a different way than maybe just a stranger on TV explaining.
Okay. Thank you very much for that. King, you ever left a protest feeling empowered, only to feel hopeless a week later, and why?
Yeah, it's nice to meet people who think alike, and then the rest of the life sets in. Life sets in. I suppose that's what happens.
Okay. Michelle, ever been to a protest and felt empowered just to feel hopeless a week later?
No, I don't feel helpless. Like Lynn said, I would just go back out the next game week anyway and protest again. But
See, that's called
I
persistence. I like that.
just like to use my voice for the voiceless and for the people that sit at home.
That's why I like you, Michelle.
Thank you.
What about you, Janira? You ever left a protest feeling empowered just to feel hopeless a week later?
I don't think helpless would be the correct word to use to describe the feeling. I think that apathetic
Mm,
would be the correct word to use to like actually describe my feelings after leaving a protest. Because as a minority in America, um, we are so consistently mistreated, and our communities are so disorganized that like when we finally get together to like protest something, like yes, it's very like powerful and moving, but it feels like it's I don't think performative would be the correct word, but it feels somewhat futile because yes, these demonstrations are very powerful and they get the word out and it inspires other people to join the cause, but a lot of things don't get done. And ultimately, I just end up with the same like salty taste in my mouth. And I'm just sitting on the couch eating fruits, like fruit snacks.
okay. What about you, Native? You ever left a protest feeling empowered just to feel hopeless a week later?
I think the first time and the last time that I ever left a protest was when George Bush started pushing Mexicans out of America. That was back after 9/11. Of course, I could see why that happened and why he did it, chose his acts, but I can see why everything else happened. But to put things more in perspective is that I am a Native American in a white man's world, and regardless of where I live, it's gonna be that world. I just sit back, relax, take what comes, let it come, and live with it. There's no reason to sit back and protest, fight. Yeah, you can get so many people to do so many things and try your hardest to let people know, hey, we're here. We're gonna try our hardest, but no one's gonna understand ever. Even if you take it back to the 1800s, the 1700s, the 16s, the 15s, it's gonna be the same no matter what you do. So let it ride.
Okay. Thank you for that perspective, bud. What about you, Banish? You ever left a protest feeling empowered just to feel hopeless a week later?
I've left protests like feeling like I wouldn't say hopeless, more unaccomplished, but I tend to take that and I like to fight fire with fire, so I will go back and keep going and keep saying my piece until something happens, and if I have to, I'll let my words get harsher until the point gets proven and it gets across to the parties it needs to get across to.
I
That,
like that.
that's persistence. We like that. So, who benefits when protests become performance without follow up? Loon?
The people in power, the people who are already benefiting from the system being the way it is.
Okay. What about you, King? Who benefits when protests become performance without follow up?
I would agree that there is someone who benefits, and when you say these things, the benefit I think is that they're identifying who and where is protesting. And that's what I dislike. Otherwise, no, I'm not sure there is a direct benefit, but they do get to identify who's against them and where are they, which may be useful information for them.
What about you, Michelle? Who do you think benefits when protests become performance without follow up?
Yeah, they always come without follow up. Nothing ever comes out of our protests because, like Lynn said, that's all the people in power. But I'll still go out in the streets every week if I had to.
And that's persistence. I like persistence. What about you?
Persistence is key.
What about you, Janura? Who do you think benefits when protests become performance without follow-up?
Um, I think not only the dominant social class, but also the dominant uh socio-ethnic group in a given area, depending on certain like aspects.
I see you like Brennan Lee Mulligan as well.
Yeah.
What
I'm
about you,
sorry.
Native?
Wait, did you hear me?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, my bad.
What about you, Native? Who do you think benefits when a protest becomes performance without follow-up?
I think the people that benefit are the elite, the rich, the one with more power than we should even be able to hold. But since they have so much money, they have the power to buy and control what they have. So when I see a man that drives a Ferrari for fun and comes to the casino and gambles millions of dollars away when they can simply give that to foundations, those are the ones that are killing this place.
I can agree with that for sure. F1's in the chat, everybody. What about you, Banish? Who do you think benefits when protests become performance without follow-up?
I would say the oppressors, the ones that want to silence the protests, if we don't follow up on what we're protesting, they're the only ones that can benefit from it because they don't want to change, we want to change. If we don't follow up, then change will never happen.
Very accurate. So, the machine learns. It adapts. The more visible and popular your cause, the faster it's absorbed. I'm like, how many movements got diluted into t-shirts, diversity training, and performative allyship? What began as righteous rage ends up as a marketing campaign. The system co-opts language, symbols, even leadership, and then uses them to pacify the people who started the fire. This isn't failure, it's war. You don't get co-opted unless you're a threat. But survival means staying unbought, unbranded, unpredictable, and persistent. So my question, Loon, is can you name a movement that you saw get watered down by media or corporations?
I think the Me Too movement is a great example. Definitely got co-opted by a lot of organizations, but not only that, it also got watered down by people using it in more of a joking way than a serious way. It's more of a meme culture thing now than anything.
Absolutely. Meme culture is a good way to put that, by the way. What about you, King? Can you name a movement that you saw get watered down by media or corporations?
I'm still reeling from the fact. Remember that Mondayitis thing? The fact is that the only protest-related thing that I've noticed in this week was something in Serbia, and it was totally different thing. And the only way I noticed it because is it LRADs? Noise weapons, sound weapons were used.
Sonic cannon that was used on
Sonic
protests.
cannon, yeah. And I have not heard anything about 3 million strong protests in USA, which is worrying. That is insulation to the max. That is worrying. I mean, talking about living in a bubble and outside of reality.
Yeah.
That is next level.
Well, to be fair, not a whole lot of the world is hearing about what's going on in the United States. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
but you think that I would have, because I have been active and I have been through social media and I have seen a lot of crazy stuff, technical and whatever else. But I've even noticed silly things. Like I'm on TikTok here, I'm being locked into a bubble created for me. The people that I meet are tea lovers and cup appreciation society, which is kind of strange. But hey, someone's designing the bubble for me. Interesting.
That's a very interesting thing to realize, and I really do hope that you keep an eye on that. Michelle, can you name a movement you saw get watered down by media or corporations?
To be honest, no.
Okay. What about you, Genera? Can you name a movement you saw get watered down by media or corporations?
Um, yes, but I'm gonna like sidestep a little bit, and I'm gonna say I think that the men's rights movement, like the legitimate men's rights movement, like there was a what do you call it, a movement that was advocating for men to get better um mental health care and to be treated more fairly when it came to custody, like things that are like legitimate and not just like the BS that a lot of people throw around. That was co-opted by the alt-right, and I'm not gonna like say anything other than that because it's a discussion all on its own. But that was hijacked, and it's no longer legitimate, and no one takes it seriously.
Hmm. It's a great take, by the way. Thank you for that. What about you, Native? You ever seen a movement get watered down by media or corporations?
Okay, so I'm gonna agree with him for a second before I actually throw out my actual like movement. Women are starting to treat men like men aren't worth being men, but there is a difference between being a man and being a boy. That being said, I'm going to go into my movement. The one that I was going to speak on was 9/11. 9/11 was very watered down. It was very thrown out and it was very messed up. And it was being spoke at like it was an oil problem or but if you really get into it and if you really break things down, and I know everybody probably in this chat's already broke it down, was it us or was it them? And that's all I got to say.
That has been up for debate for a good while, and I think a good portion of us are aware of why it could be either. And I appreciate you bringing that up. Banish, can you name a movement you saw get watered down by media or corporations?
Yeah, anything based off of race, gender, uh, orientation, attraction wise, or anything against abuse, anything that the media can grasp their hands around has been watered down in such a way that they water it down for money or to cause a divide. And it's sad that people are letting it happen and people sit there and watch it and be like, oh, it's a joke now. When it's really not a joke, it's just a sickening twist in a plot twist they're using to, create a divide and get more money.
Thank you very much. Hey, Native, just so you know, I just got a warning for you. I don't know what you were doing, but it told me that to kick you, so I just had my mod turn your camera off. um, so my next question And I'm going to start this one off with Banish. Why do you think co-option is so effective at killing momentum?
What does co-option mean?
To take a movement and, let's see, turn it around for your own benefit.
I'm gonna have to think on that one.
Fair enough. Fair enough. What about you, Native?
I think that it would be more of a thing if people would stop exploiting it. Like, I don't jump on and say, hey, I'm straight, ask me anything. But then if you jump on and say that you're anything else and you ask me anything, but get offended by it, offended by your offensism, then that's just a reason for more attention. Now, I'm not one to sit back and say, don't be that at all. I'm saying, go ahead, be who you think you are, or who you are, or who you want to be. That's fine to me. It's perfectly fine. But don't sit back and crave attention for being something that's fine. Because I don't jump on here and say, hey, I'm heterosexual. Ask me anything.
Yeah,
I
a lot
think
of social media aspect is really strange to witness. I can agree with that for sure. Michelle, why do you think co-option is so effective at killing momentum?
Well, I didn't have an answer for that either right now, to be fair.
Fair enough. Fair enough. What about you, King? Why do you think co-option is effective at killing momentum?
I don't think co-option is really the problem. The only thing that I can think of at the moment that could be classified as co-option is totally fake. So, you know that I'm in Australia, and there is a movement, there's a force pushing, liberals are pushing nuclear energy, but it's absolutely fake. They're pushing it with wrong information, with faulty reasoning, with partial information. It's not really what it claims to be. So it's not for ecology. It is just distraction, and it can't go forward. But there are things that are being pushed under it. But mostly it's about prolonging the use of coal. So it's totally different. The thing that you hear and see is not the goal at all. The real things that matter are not being discussed at all. That I don't see it. You correct me if I'm wrong. What do you actually mean by, name me a topic that is discussed openly, decently, and argumented properly? I don't see it.
Thank you for that input. And Native, you wanted to say something real quick?
Okay, am I back on now?
Yeah.
Okay, I would just like to say that there's a lot of things in this world that are completely thrown out of perspective. Like, for instance, religion, or for instance, flat earth, or for instance, anything in this world. Everything is constantly turned on each other. You could take a great man, make him believe something, and make him go complete with that thing. This is called teaching as children. You teach them young, you teach them how to hate certain things, you teach them how to be a certain thing, or you know what I mean. So
Absolutely.
when you religiousize things, these kids need to grow up and learn that way. Now, if we were If the sun blew out and we all need to learn how to live inside of a hole in the bottom of the ground, we would all grow up learning that, hey, living in a tunnel in the dirt is okay. But nobody understands that LGBTQ, BLM, MAGA, any of that, it's all against each other. Nobody wants to come together. They constantly want to argue and try to fight each other over any little thing when nobody understands and nobody wants to, because they're so stuck on being their own person, that we all need to come together and be that whole spiral of DNA that can become one and actually become a higher celestial being. Okay, I'm done.
I like the way you think, and we should talk more in the future. Loon, why do you think co-option is so effective at killing momentum?
Because it takes away credibility from the cause it's supporting. I mean, again, a great example is the Me Too movement. Again, once it got memeified, it became kind of more of a joke rather than a serious thing, and people don't want something that serious to be associated with a joke. So anyone who, was really getting help from that or really feeling inspired by that no longer was able to do so.
Thank you for that input. And Banish, you said you'd like to answer this one. Why do you think co-option is so effective at killing momentum?
Because every now and then, as we've seen, there's some people that will try to take that movement and place any movement on themselves as they may be a part of in that category of it and placed in it, but they'll not always be the best voice for it and may have great intention, but the message that they're putting out could be toxic or damaging to the cause.
It's a pretty good point. And Janura, if you're capable of answering, why do you think co-option is so effective at killing momentum?
Well, honestly speaking, I think that um it, I'm not sure how to say her name. Literary uh did she just disappear?
Literary Loon, she's my mod. TikTok
Yeah,
does that.
okay.
She is still here. She's coming back up. Hold on a
Okay.
second.
Yeah, literary Lewin perfectly encapsulate, like, even like it doesn't matter how you apply that same philosophy, it is detrimental to any movement. It is detrimental to any movement. But I did want to say, like, whenever you and that other person have that discussion about, I found that super interesting, and I had like a few things to say about that, but like that would, derail this. So I'm not gonna say anything.
And we can go into that subject a little further in. Native, you wanted to say one more thing before I move on? You are still muted, buddy.
I'm sorry. I don't want to jump off topic here, but can you kind of explain what we're going on again?
Talking about the topic at hand?
Yes.
Well, right now we're addressing how co-option is used by whoever is being protested against to reduce the momentum of a movement and get people to lose hope and faith in it.
Well, co-option is used against everybody. No matter what your option is, you're gonna be you're gonna be against, and someone's gonna be against you, and no one's ever gonna have the I guess, ability to say, hey, it's okay, everything's fine. Everyone is going to constantly argue. There's blood crips, there's America, Russia, there's China and Australia. There's everyone throwing up flags, even cops that are driving around throwing up flags. Everyone has it wrong for a gangster to walk around with a blue bandana or a red bandana or a yellow bandana. You know what I mean? It's like it's like the biggest manipulation that's ever been done. Nobody sits back and says, "Hey, maybe if we all stuck together and got this all done together, and we all sat down and stopped arguing with each other over flags or any type of anything, maybe we can grow as a community and understand that we are one DNA sample. We're just mixed up."
I can agree. There's always going to be opposition to a movement, but I find it to be different in the case of the state versus the people, as opposed to two different communities.
Exactly, the state versus the people.
Yeah.
What do the people say? Even if you got like a group of like, I don't know, Mexicans. One Mexican did something to another Mexican, so you got these Mexicans fighting each other, both being Mexican or black or gay or LGBTQ or MAGA or you know what I mean, Democrat or even up to China, America, Russia. What's the difference? It's just ridiculous to me, like how people can sit here and argue about things that they really are not a part of and believe that they're a part of, but have no sense at all of being a part of because of all the secretive that's going on. It's all part of making us not want to like each other.
Yeah, and that's a tactic used by the state to keep us from addressing them, which is big. It has been a tool used against communities for forever, really.
Once people start to realize that together we are one, together we can win, we can make everybody lose. All the elites, they will all lose. Together as one, we can win.
And I feel like we're on that path of understanding. We just have to break through this melancholy that I see people having, because everyone's kind of in this shell shock.
Yeah, I like how you use that, melancholy. Nice.
Thank you. So 3 million people in the streets means nothing if they don't come back the next day or the next month. Momentum dies when there's no structure to hold it. And the state
all
knows
honesty, if you have 3 million people in the streets guarding highways, they're just going to run them over like they've been doing. And like, why would you even put yourself in that situation? Because you know there's going to be that one person that's just going to hit the gas and run you over.
That's the thing, is that if people don't show up in force and show up as one voice to speak up against injustice, injustice never gets spoken out against. So these are risks that people have to take in order to make themselves heard.
Yeah, but at what cost?
Well, 1 versus 3 million.
If we want to speak up, we need to speak up socially. We don't need to stand out in the road and
But that's the
say,
thing.
hey, run me over, because eventually there's going to be someone that doesn't care that's going to run you over. Now, we're not only losing lives, but we're losing lives.
Check this out. Okay. In order for people to be heard in a system that values profit over people, you have to interrupt the profit. And in order to interrupt the profit in a society where people are too afraid to step away from work, you have to impede their ability to get there. Because that directly affects the wallet of the elite. And yes, it is risky. Yes, it is dangerous. But at the same time, no movement ever in history has made any headway without doing some risky business.
So a man on the highway doing 60, blocked by thousands of people trying to protest is supposed to stop getting his money?
Yes.
He's making his money for his children. He don't need
Yes.
to block.
But
He don't
that's
need to be interrupted. He needs to
but hear
get
me
to
out.
a certain place.
Hear me out.
Okay,
Hear me
can
out.
I just say one thing right quick?
Go ahead.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I heard what you guys are talking about, and while yes, you're both correct, right? Like it's all because of a lot of the world's, you know, divides and a lot of things that have been created to divide people and to cause like all these problems in society are because of classism and um well specifically like capitalism. But we cannot ignore the fact that there are I don't even know like what words to use to make this like TikTok friendly. Um, there are certain concepts are so deeply ingrained in certain communities that it becomes a problem in itself. It no longer is a problem that can be fixed by fixing the root. It becomes its own problem. I can't be specific because I don't know
Problems are
what word
basically
to use.
created by people that elites want us to create. They're sitting back and they're laughing at us, and they're making money while we're sitting here paying taxes, doing nothing.
And
Yeah, but like that's what I'm saying. Like I said that like there are some things so there are some issues that are created through that, but become so deeply ingrained in a certain culture or a society that it becomes its own issue
If
instead of like an issue that is caused. Instead of it's no longer a symptom, but it is the cause, if that makes sense.
and what's crazy is there are more than one out there like that. It's not just something
Mhm.
simple and basic as that one cause. It's many causes that are put into perspective that people are starting to argue about, like it's such as MAGA and LGBTQ. You know that they're going at it. They're going at it as this is what it is. This is what it's going to be. But nobody understands that we have the ability to stop all of that if we wanted to. What are we gonna do? We're gonna sit here? Are we gonna argue about it on social media, or are we gonna try to actually put ourselves out there and get killed? Unalive.
Oh,
I'm sorry,
dang,
unalive.
dude.
I'm sorry.
F1 in the chat, please.
Could
So
I
my
add? Can I add
go
one
ahead.
thing to
Go
that?
ahead, Banish. Go ahead.
So on the last comment you said on that nasty, the thing is, what do we do? Well, for one, we stop listening to the media, and for two, yeah, to the kind of if one person doesn't stop, and let's even say there's just 3,000 people, one is not going to take out 3,000. There are casualties that happen in every movement, and the more that we stand up against something and more that happens, people are like, "Oh man, this is why
Have
does
you
this
stood
keep
up?
happening?" And
Have
it
you stood up?
raises more awareness. Am I saying that we should have casualties happen? No,
Have you been
but
out there?
it's
First
so many
line.
people. There's so many people that get wrapped into what the media tells them of. Oh, this movement is toxic because this and that, so they can keep the divide. Because again, that's what the news does. They create that divide, and so many people are sheep that follow that,
I'm
that
just
they're blind
curious.
to the
I don't
cause
mean to cut you off, but how many times have you been on the front lines of a disorder?
of protests. Quite a few times.
Okay. You ever been in the front of a semi?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Well,
If I get taken out by standing up for a cause, then so be it. If I believe in a cause so much so,
what's the
I
cause
will
that you're
put
standing up
down
for?
mine. I've protested with the LGBT rights uh, back before BLM was just a money grab. I was out for that.
Okay.
There's been quite a few times.
So you never even had the thought to say to yourself, like, it is what it is. It's always going to be that way. Who cares?
No, I don't feel that way, but I will never sell for it is what it is, because if I believe that there is a change that can be done and is worthy to be done, if I'm a casualty of that, so be it. Eventually something will happen.
Eventually,
Look at
I
what
mean,
happened with slavery. Eventually slavery ended.
okay, slavery ended, but what's going on right now, even in the hip hop community?
Well,
Yeah.
real quick,
It's not
I'd
nothing's
like to point
perfect
out.
what happens.
Hold on. I'd like to point out that while all of these points are valid, this is not a debate live. We're here to have a discussion about what to do next.
Oh yeah,
And
that's what I'm saying is that I need everybody to understand that we are one. Together we are one, and they are making us against each other. That's my biggest point.
no one in this room is against each other. No one. Here on Interviewing Humanity, I make a point of making sure that we bridge the gaps to address the actual problem, which is elitism. It is capitalism. It is
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. The more money, the more you can get away with.
To backtrack a little bit to the question that you had posed about a man on his way to work being hindered from going to work, when the entire movement is geared towards making the elites feel the pain, it does take inconvenience for the regular, average, everyday Joe. Because unfortunately, in order to stop the money flow into the elite's pockets, enough people have to be hindered from making that money. Because the status quo continues a constant flow, and if enough people get hindered from being able to from contributing financially to the wallets of the elite, then the elite start to feel the pain, and that's why protests in the streets happens.
I think that the first rock and rollist that ever figured that out was actually the first person to actually bring out rock and roll, and he had a great mind on how to stop the elites because he was sick of how he was being treated. That being said, I can take that back to Jim Morrison or even, I don't know. I mean, another great would probably be
Bob Dylan.
Bob Dylan. Bob Dylan was great. Bob Dylan was awesome. But I was thinking more like Nirvana. But yeah, in my eyes, Jim Morrison was one of the greatest speakers, voice wise, lyrical wise.
Can I ask a question here? What is F1 supposed to do?
So F1 is a reset code. It basically confuses the algorithm and stops it from putting restrictions on your life.
Host.
No, come on. No.
It does actually work.
You're suggesting that I can type in the text and that it will be interpreted as a actionable executive code?
It's not so much. It's not an executable code. It's a confusion.
It's not to confuse society, it's to confuse the computer going back to normal. Hit escape F1 and it'll pull up everything that is compatible to your computer, and then you can delete or keep it running, your choice.
So to get the conversation back on track, I want to start talking about the psychological fallout that happens after marches. So the energy of protests obviously is very addictive. For a moment, we remember that we are powerful. We feel united and we believe that change is possible, but then we go home. And the silence at home is unbearable. The crash hits and it feels like failure even if it wasn't. And this is normal. And it's dangerous. Because the system wants us to associate action with futility. It wants us to burn out so that we never rise up again. And our job is to expect that crash and build safety nets for each other to land in. So my question, and we'll start off with Banish on this one. Have you ever felt the post-protest crash, and what did that feel like to you?
I have not personally.
Can you repeat that, bud?
I have not felt the post-protest crash.
Okay. And what about you, Native?
Okay, so I think it was like 2009 that George Bush made all the started doing the thing where the Mexicans were all going to get deported. So all the Mexicans in the school, we all walked out. We all walked from where I lived all the way to Dallas. It's a long walk too. But that being said, I don't think protest did anything. I think it was more of just an inconvenience to them. They were going to get what they wanted to begin with. I think protest is just a waste of time. We might as well just sit back and not necessarily go by their rules, but sit back and don't care about their rules. Just keep living your life, man.
Well, when the system starts wrapping down on people and making it so that they can't just go about their lives without severe hindrance, people have to do something. Not doing something about situations that are causing people hardship is basically what was the phrase? The only thing bad men need to succeed is for good men to do nothing. And complacency, as Janura says, is exactly that.
Yeah. Zill and Arden.
Janura, have you ever felt post-protest crash, and what did that feel like to you?
Yeah, I have. I think that um, logically speaking, because honestly, like I am autistic, so I had to have like a different way of processing emotions. So the way that I understand them is a little bit different. It's a little bit more rigid. But the way that I experience post, um, like the post like protest blues, is the same way that I would feel like being emotionally heightened for an extended period of time. Like the emotion that comes after that is the absence of emotion. It's apathy. When you're angry for a long period of time or sad for a long period of time, you suddenly feel nothing. And you sort of just exist that way.
Can I jump in for just a second? Because I deal with like depression like crazy, and I can understand exactly what you're saying. You're mad for a second, you're happy for a second. You can be so down on yourself, but it's okay. Now I've been doing this. Okay, for a second, I've been doing it with legal drugs. Legal drugs. I've been doing it with legal drugs, and then I started like I'm done dealing
TikTok
with
friendly.
depression. Okay,
TikTok friendly.
okay, so I started doing it legally with just dealing with myself and dealing with my own depression the way that I can deal with my depression. Now, the way that I got to where I feel happy is to stay busy, to stay working, to push, 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 push. The better you do, the better you are. You know, forget what people say, forget what people think about who you are, who you were. Stay quiet, don't speak. Don't let them know anything and just keep working and do everything to yourself in silence.
Wouldn't that just be distracting yourself instead of feeling actual happiness?
No. It's doing exactly what you need to do, because there is no healing your happiness. This is a thing that's constantly going to be there. The better you do, the more you know you did. The worse you sit there and wonder why I didn't do that, or man, I could have did this, man, I could have did that. Go do it. Go do it, man. You have the opening to do anything you want in life.
I know exactly what you're talking about, but my point when I was answering the host question is like when when you are involved in a protest and you are emotionally heightened for an extended period of time, like being upset, at some point you become burnt out. This is the truth for everyone. All it is a matter of time.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You just gotta stop. You gotta get to the point where it's just, who cares? This is it. We're here. Yeah, you can get out there and try your hardest to make a difference, but the point is, it's not gonna be a difference made unless you can congregate the world together and be as one. Stop arguing about
Yeah.
liberals and
So
dictators.
really quick,
I,
really quick, because of where this conversation has gone, I want to go ahead and skip past the next couple of answers and move to the concept of collective burnout and learned helplessness. Okay, so repeated attempts and repeated inaction from power breeds this very same concept: learned helplessness, the creeping voice that says, why bother? Movements collapse not because people don't care, but because they lost belief that anything will work. And we have to name this, and we have to fight it, and build spaces that let people rest, recover, and rejoin the fight. Without the ability to recover, no one gets back into the fight. And that is a tool that the system uses against us by making us feel like nothing's going to happen. But things do happen. It just takes persistence. It takes persistence, and it takes pointed action. So another thing that comes from all this is grief and rage and a need for direction. After protest, you're going to feel grief for what didn't happen, for the people who are still suffering. And you may or may not feel rage at the silence, at the way media spins things, and the fake allies. These emotions aren't signs of weakness. They're signs that you care, but they need direction. They need to be pointed somewhere, because without that, those feelings eat us alive. And with it, they become fuel. So my question I'm going to start off with Loon on this one. What's the most overwhelming emotion that you felt after an action?
The most overwhelming? I guess I don't know how to describe it. Like content.
Okay. And what about you, King? What's the most overwhelming emotion that you've ever felt after an action?
Oh, it wasn't directly connected to the action, but so the situation was this: there was a protest, it was 90s, there were those VCR tape recorders, camera recorders. And I have taped a protest, and backlash came when I came back home, and some of my relatives realized that I filmed people and people could be identified, and basically I had to destroy the tape because of it, and that crushed me kind of. Otherwise, no. I know why I went to protest. I know what my opinion was. It didn't change afterwards. I didn't have too high expectations. I was fairly proud of that, but in the end, I had to destroy the tape, which contained more than just that protest. So I just lost a chunk of me, I suppose, there in many ways.
I have to remember that you're in Australia because there are some weird animal sounds going on.
Ah, right.
Okay. What about you, Janura? What's the most overwhelming emotion that you felt after an action?
Um, Rage.
Yeah.
Um, with well, like, I mentioned earlier that I am black. So like, like protests and like fighting for rights um with my culture in America has been, to put it nicely, tenuous. And I mean, like, why wouldn't someone be upset about being continuously mistreated for generations and watching other people also being mistreated for generations? So when things don't get done, I feel anger. And honestly, that's one of the reasons why I had to like take a step back from um advocating, because it it got to be suffocating.
Yeah. It has a tendency to do that. And it's good that you took a step back to get your head straight. It really is. It's the number one thing that people can do to avoid being completely burnt out about, protecting
Mm,
their rights.
straight up,
Um,
like a lot of people don't realize that.
oh yeah, absolutely. What about you, Native? What's the most overwhelming emotion you felt after an action?
I think that the most overwhelming would probably be loss, the feeling of emptiness.
Grief. Yeah.
Not only grief, but the loss of not I don't know, I'm not saying unalived when I say loss. I'm saying the loss, like the mental, physical loss of a certain person or certain people. And when I say that, I'm saying family, friends, exes, things like that, things that kept you together, that took you apart and made you feel like you didn't exist because you tried your hardest. That's probably the worst I've ever felt.
Mm. Thank you for sharing your lived experience. Banish. What's the most overwhelming emotion that you felt after an action?
Uh, Motivation in the sense of rage.
Okay.
Like, where you're angry, but in a motive, like you're motivated by the anger to get back out and do something.
Okay. And how do you think that rage or grief can be used as a tool rather than a trap?
Uh, Depending on how it's utilized. If you utilize it in a sense where it just is the motivation and a tool, then it could sometimes be a good thing, but also be a bad thing. It just depends on how the individual goes about utilizing.
Okay. And last question for you, Banish. What helps you stay emotionally grounded during long fights for justice?
The What helped me stay grounded is more that I've like rage has always been something as a tool for me, and I can turn that into a energy, creative energy to you know do something creative with it or good with it, or you know I don't know. I can't think of the right word for it.
Okay. What about you, Janira? What helps you stay emotionally grounded during long fights for justice?
Oh man. Um, Honestly, like, uh, nothing. Um, Unfortunately, I'm pretty emotionally immature, so I'm capable of very quickly compartmentalizing and just like ceasing to care about anything really. So this question probably isn't really for someone like me.
Mhm. Well, if it wasn't for someone like you, I wouldn't ask. And there's no wrong answers, bud.
Um, Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
What about
Hello,
you, Native?
everybody.
Hi, Annika. How are you? Give us just a second, please. What
Go
about
ahead.
you, Native? What do
Ask the
you?
question again.
Yeah. What helps you stay emotionally grounded during long fights for justice?
The thing that actually pushes me through anything, not only physically, emotionally, mentally, is the thought that my children are here. Regardless of what I went through as a child and what I can remember and choose not to speak on, I do not want that for my children. So I push everything that I got, that I can get, towards making my children have a better future.
Okay, that is honorable. What about you, King? What helps you stay emotionally grounded during long fights for justice?
I stay as much as clear as I can from emotions unless they're positive. That's the only thing that I can try to cling to. Otherwise, I try to reason things and look ahead and stay far, far away from emotions because those are the attack vectors, and where mind is confused. So yeah, I don't see. Paradoxically, what makes me human is I have to give up on that and think clearly
Okay.
if I can.
I have more questions for you on that, but we'll have those conversations offline. And what about you, Wayne? What helps you stay emotionally grounded during long fights for justice?
I would probably have to say just knowing that what I'm doing is gonna lead to a better tomorrow for not only the people who matter to me, but everyone.
Thank you for that. So, the system doesn't fear your signs. It fears your structure. It fears disruption that can be scheduled or that can't be scheduled. It can't be managed, and it can't be dismissed. When people organize, not just show up, but organize, it shifts the balance. Symbolic action makes noise, but organized disruption has the power to stop the machine. What happens when transit shuts down? When ports go quiet? Or when the gears of profit grind to a halt? That is leverage. That is the leverage that makes change happen. So, in your opinion, Banish, what's the difference between a protest and a disruption?
The difference from a protest and a disruption is in a protest, it generally will people just keep doing the same thing and same thing and same thing. But when a disruption happens in a protest, they'll just keep doing the same thing. A protest, when a pure disruption happens, when they double down on that disruption and keep doubling down until the change is forced, that's the difference of a pure disruption and just a protest.
Okay.
A disruption will force a change.
Okay. What about you, Native? what's the difference between a protest and a disruption?
The difference between a protest and a disruption to me is, for instance, the pipeline to Butte. When they built the pipeline through Native community, yeah, you had a protest. And yeah, it disrupted us. And yeah, it was a waste of time. We could have sat there with every Native in the world and still they would have got their pipeline. It's pointless to try. Go ahead.
Well, I was listening.
Oh, no. I was saying go ahead like that. I'm done.
Okay. And thank you for your input. Janura, in your opinion, what's the difference between a protest and a disruption?
And like this might be a little bit rigid, but and literal, but the way that I understand it is that like a protest is reactive, and a disruption is like proactive or like preemptive. Like when people are disrupting something, like they go in and they just cause a hullabaloo. But when there's a protest going on, it's something that's already happened after the fact, and they're trying to change that outcome.
Okay.
That's how I understand it.
Can I jump in again? If I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. Are you
No,
are
I'm
you?
done.
I don't mean to like just jump in, but I wanted to throw something in there too. I think that protests are ways to get yourself on social media so that the problem at hand is thrown onto social media, which makes it bigger than what it is. That's all I really wanted to say.
Okay. An interesting take. King, in your opinion, what's the difference between a protest and a disruption?
Almost none. I am not. I think we're looking in the wrong direction. So when you talking about protest, that's a showing off, let's say, raising hand or whatever. You think of disruption, it doesn't change realistically anything. This is where I would align with those who, whatever, Marxists, or they propose communist ideas or whatever, stuff like that. The whole, what's behind all this monetary illusion is assets and resources, and the problem is called distribution. Neither of those two that you mentioned change, in effect, ownership or control of the resources. Therefore, it won't produce the change.
Thank you for bringing that point up. We'll be talking about that later on. I like you, King. Loon, in your opinion, what's the difference between a protest and a disruption?
I feel like protests are more of a polite warning, like, hey, people are getting upset, you might want to do something about this. And disruptions are the consequences of not listening to those polite warnings.
I like that take as well. Thank you very much. So, from what you've seen, and I'm going to take this one back to Banish. From what you've seen, what kind of organizing scares the people in power?
When the organization is very calculated and organized, that's going to scare them the most, because if everything is poorly thrown together and not set up the right way, the ones in power, they're like, okay, well, it's not going to go anywhere. But when unity, calculation, and everything's lined in order, it gives them the what's the friendly way to say this on the app? A oh no moment. Because when we're all unified together and are calculated, that's when the most, in their eyes, the most damage is going to get done to what they're doing, because no matter what, all unified is very calculated and controlled.
Huh. I like that point that you brought up there. I appreciate you. Native, in your opinion, what kind of organizing actually scares the people in power?
I think that some of the biggest organizations that scare the power, or are you talking about scaring like the elites or controlling the less elite?
I'm not talking about organizations. I'm talking about organizing. What kind of organizing scares the people in power?
I think organizing is basically what we're going through right now. We're believing one, trusting another, trusting one, believing another, and watching it unwield itself into a implement of power. When simplistics go back to who created fire, who created water, who did this, who did that. Now it's like we got everything we need and we're still afraid of everything in the world because we can't live safely.
Okay. Thank you for that input. King, what kind of organizing do you think scares the people in power?
I don't know, anything that would wrestle the control over individual and information or resources or services. Anything that endangers their strings, I suppose.
Scares the people in power.
The kind that leads to action.
What kind of action?
Disruptive action. To say it in not so many words.
Okay. Thank you for your input. And thanks for the follow, Native. Appreciate you. So let's talk about economic pressure tactics. The only language power. What's that?
I didn't go.
Oh, my bad. I'm so sorry, Janura. What kind of organizing do you think scares the people in power?
I'll make it quick because you were just in the middle of your sentence. I believe that there's two. One of them has not been actually achieved by people, but it's possible. And then the other one is what we have actually found out to work. So the first one that people in power are truly afraid of is unification. And I know that sounds simple, but like if the masses were to truly unify, that would terrify them. But as of now, that's not possible. So the next best thing would be attacking their wallets. So boycotting would be what they would be the most like afraid of at this moment.
Okay. Thank you for that input. Now,
may I disagree there, because the way I see it, it seems like major hedge funds or corporations are owned by each other, so there is no way you can harm them in this monetary cycle type of thing, because they're benefiting from every aspect of it. So, you know.
So really quick, King, you bring up a really valuable point. A lot of money is kind of kept between each other, and the way that they do that, which I'm sure you know, is through stocks. And
which is just another way of exploitation. They're draining the value through the value of the stocks, so they buy it once and forevermore they expropriate the production and value derived from production by actually no work whatsoever. Fiscalization or rent seeking or whatever you call it is just another form of gambling and expropriation of the value.
So, you bring up you have a very valid point. You have a very valid concept here, but it was proven just last year that one person can shake the absolute shit out of a couple of really rich folks. If you remember correctly, oh, maybe it was a couple years ago, the GameStop fiasco, where the wealthy were going to tank the stock value of GameStop, and a very intelligent young man who had nothing to do with stocks caught on and let everyone know, and all of that money and power they were going to do with their stock buyback got taken from them in a day.
I've heard about it, but I haven't analyzed it myself. I have heard the comments about it, and I tended to agree with what I've heard, but it was one-off. It doesn't matter. The point is the solution to the system which created problem cannot be sought within the system that created it, and therefore I don't seek solution there, nor do I pay too much attention to that type of solutions.
You bring a very valuable point. One cannot grow past their boundaries if they can't see past their boundaries. You're very correct. Oh, where did Native go? That was such an interesting set of concepts there. So, the only language power understands is money. The strikes bleed corporations. Both worker strikes and labor strikes, and boycotts embarrass them publicly. And divestment from their corporations or their resources disarms them. And these actions do work, but they take planning. We don't need to.
Are you just falling into the trap of this means of exchange type of thing?
No.
Where you losing perspective of what's real? Because they can print money at will, you know that.
Yes, they can print money at will, but the problem is that their money only holds value if we give it value.
True, but doesn't get me anywhere. That doesn't get me anywhere. Whether I trust in money or do not trust in money, I still don't have a control over production or resources or assets.
Correct, you don't. But we could, if, as stated multiple times in this segment by almost everybody in here, if we organize and work together and come together as one. We collectively can make it too expensive for the system to not change.
They're still talking in monetary terms.
Yes, because that's the language that they speak. So
not necessarily that they believe in. Because if you have so much money, money is meaningless. It's not something you notice at all.
Yes.
It's just about gaining the power that's been stated so many times.
Yes, the power comes with that money. That's why they've hoarded all of it. And that money has the power because we give it the power. It is something we engage in daily, is the act of giving that money power. Now, I don't know if I've told you this, but I work mutual aid around the country. I've been doing it for a long time. And I've been able to witness multiple groups of people move away successfully from investing in the system through mutual aid and community. These are all achievable things.
Absolutely, but insulating yourself and taking yourself out of the system does not actually endanger the system, does it?
It does. It does. The more people who divest their time and attention from giving the currency its power and value, the less value it has. And when it no longer has value, it can't be used as leverage. And they utilize this concept of value as leverage to enslave humanity.
I'm getting that, but what really has the value is the real things like food, electricity, and all kind of real resources. I understand that money makes it complicated, but
The things that we find important because they're how we stay alive. They find it important because it's something that they can use as leverage. The value they have is this property, is this resource. But they can't keep that resource if they're bleeding money, because they're always going to try to make sure they have the money.
They are exceptionally greedy because, like,
Yeah.
yeah, why would you need more than, you know, $10 million? Why would you need more than that?
No,
But
I'll give you
then,
$999,999,999.99.
uh,
But you make
you would
that
never
million
need
a
that much money,
penny.
and you would never need that much money. But for
Yeah,
some
no.
reason, they are compelled to want more, and that's why attacking their wallets is like it. That's why it makes sense. That's why it works because for some reason they have all this money, but when we don't buy their stuff, they get upset. Have you ever noticed that?
Yeah.
For all their money, like like a, maybe like 30,000 people don't buy McDonald's. All of a sudden, people like millionaires are up in they're up in like a tizzy.
Yeah. They make a big fuss about it. They talk about it on
Yeah,
the news.
yeah. Like, but they got all the money, so it doesn't make any sense. It's illogical.
Yeah.
It's
Another
because
prime example of that is Advanced Auto Parts. They're closing thousands of stores because they have these goals that they want people to reach. And back when I worked there, they want us to hit the same numbers that they were hitting pre-COVID, which isn't the thing anymore. And because stores can't reach that, because people aren't out buying stuff willy nilly left and right for their cars like that, they're unnecessary as frequent as people were able to early on. They're like, oh well, we're not making the exact same amount of money beforehand, so we're gonna take money out of your guys' pocket to make up for that of their own personal greed.
all right, correct me if I'm wrong, but let's say we tomorrow decide, all of us, to boycott McDonald's. The stock value will crash, the company will go in bankruptcy, and you know what's going to happen? Burger King is going to buy it off at dimes per dollar and continue. Is that
And
right or not?
I mean, it is possible.
Well, well,
It
maybe
is
Burger
possible.
King has better values.
You're kind of producing more and more concentrated power and monopoly in the
Yeah.
process. So I think it's a negative.
This is 100% true.
So hold on. You are very correct. It leaves a power vacuum, right? Now, the problem is that they anticipate us going back to another power. But if we just become community and pull away from that system altogether and just take care of each other with all of our various skills, we don't have to go back to another power.
Let's go to the end of the story. So I have been through that loop, and I have studied, among the other things, something called donut economy, small groups living within the means of the environment and stuff like that. It's all beautiful. And kind of first thing that I associated with that is tribal communities, as in example of North American Indians, for example.
Yep.
And the logical next question is, what happens when the Westerners come? and that is where I stopped. That is where I can't pass through that bit. See, ideas are ideas. Practice is something else.
Yes. Now, something that I am sad has been lost over the years is the ability to access mental health care and appropriate training in your youth on how to safely handle self-defense equipment and how to defend
And not
yourself.
just and not just that, like our children, and for a long time, like even my generation, have been very underskilled in multiple parts of their life, not just self-defense.
Yeah.
Sorry, I did not mean to just like jump in,
No,
but
no, you're
like
good.
it's like
I'm assuming you're a millennial.
yeah, I'm 29.
Okay. I'm 37. I was the
Nice.
very end of people being taught how to take care of themselves.
Okay. I had to learn everything on the fly, but like also like I grew up in poverty, so like
Yeah.
it's not really an option to not know how to take care of yourself.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But like
Absolutely.
I
But that's
taught
not.
my son
Go ahead.
like so many things, and he is on track to be a lot more intelligent and a lot more capable
Yeah.
than than I am. Uh, I'm very proud of this. My son he's 3. He already understands consent, boundaries, how to say no, how to ask for things, how to express emotions.
Good job, Dad.
And thank you. Emotionally, he's 7 years old. Or yeah, he's 7 years old emotionally.
Yeah.
And like
You should be very
damn,
proud of
like
that. That's really
I'm 29 and I'm only I'm 24 emotionally.
good. Yeah.
And it's like, dang, dude, he's on track to be like way more capable than I am. And it sucks because the education system failed me, but I'm doing my hardest to like make sure that like my son, can be ahead of
Yeah.
his time because the education system is continuously failing the students now.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
Sorry, my bad. Didn't mean to like take
No.
up too much time, but
No, you're good, and I want to thank you for just being proud of being a good dad.
thank you, appreciate it.
Education could not have failed this badly without media's lack of coverage and debate. So I think it is first economical, then second problem is the media. And those two allowed the sequential problems further down the line.
Could I add to this? I just want to say, did 3 million people do this?
Yeah, 3.4 million people protested over the weekend.
Oh my God. Are these people are like, okay, hold on. I gotta breathe for a second. That's just shocking. I don't want to say they're stupid, but I mean, we all know it.
Who are you saying is stupid?
The millions of people. I don't know if they're stupid. Let's not say that. I would say that their protests on April 5th made absolutely no sense to me.
Why?
Because the things that they were protesting were asinine, because there was no protesting when Joe Biden was president for the economy when it sucked. And I don't really think these people actually care. I think the media just made them do it. It's just like monkey see, monkey do kind of thing going on there. And there was no legitimate messaging here. You know, I saw signs for literally everything.
I got a question for you. So you do know that there was protesting under Biden, right?
Yeah, I know there was some. It wasn't over the economy though.
No, it wasn't over the economy, and the protest that happened over the 5th wasn't about the economy. It was about the fact that money was being taken from literally everyone. People were being fired from their jobs. Federal employees fired from their jobs.
Who employs the most people in America? What entity? So, don't you think the federal government is bloated and oversized?
I think that they overreached their power.
Don't you think that? Do you really think that we need this many bureaucratic arms of the government?
Let me answer your question. I think that they overused their power. Now, I'm going to give you a little background real quick. I subscribe to anarchism. I think this entire system is stupid as fuck. However, the government currently is supposed to be in charge of caring for the citizens and making sure the citizens can prosper. If that means that they're taking a bunch of tax money and distributing it to the people, cool. But if they're taking it from the people and they're firing people from their jobs and they're removing necessary benefits from communities and people who are incapable of going out and doing the 9-to-5 rat race.
Who's getting fired from their jobs?
My best friend, who was in an unfireable position in the energy department in the United States government, got fired.
Why did he get fired?
Because budget cuts.
Oh, so they're just downsizing?
Yeah, but they're not putting the money where it should go, which
what
is
do you mean?
The people.
Well, how's it going to go through?
Think about it like.
Well, how's it going to go through?
Think about it like this: like, if the government suddenly starts to start firing people for no reason, like who's going to deliver our mail?
I mean, Aaron, have a look on what's going in UK.
Like, you get what I mean?
Not really.
Hold on. I want to hear what's going on in the UK.
Just have a look on what's going on in UK. They privatized rail and a lot of essential monopolies, and then they let those privatized monopolies go bust under private management, and now they are discussing now to buy them back again, so they can gain some kind of quality service from them, and then they will probably try to sell them again. It's just
I have a better question.
Stupid cycle.
I have a better question for the host. So, I mean, if you subscribe to anarchy, maybe you might understand this, but how many people in government do you think are actually stupid?
Not many.
What? You said not many? Why?
Well, they convinced thousands upon thousands of people to vote them into a position they don't deserve.
What funds all of their operations? Like, you know, their government contracts. It's the tax. It's discretionary tax money.
Someone has isn't muted and it's making it hard to hear.
Yeah, it's discretionary tax money. That's how they do it. And then they don't really disclose to. Well, not, I think it's mandatory actually, mandatory tax spending, and they don't disclose that information to what they're spending it on, so they could easily extort your money. So I don't
Yep.
know. I think the institution, I think they bloated, expanded federal government is stupid, and it's not really the intention of the Constitution anyway.
I
So
think I think that with the expanse of the population and the increase of people who have medical needs or mental health needs or really any needs in 2025, that it is a government's job, if there is to be one, to take care of the. Sometimes that means having to have too much fucking money to spend.
how does that
Which
affect but how does downsizing affect that? I mean, really, if when you're talking about like
oh
taking
no,
care of people that are in need and like
that's the
government
entire point.
programs, none
Hold
of
on.
that's actually being taken away.
Aaron, check this out. That's where this conversation is going. That money doesn't go out to the people. That money doesn't go out to taking care of the people. That money has been being funneled to different countries.
Oh yeah, that. Yeah. So I mean, I don't know, man. I'm not a big fan of like a really huge federal government. I think that's it's not what you really need, And all these people, and the people that are losing their jobs, I don't know. What do you want me to say? Like I don't really actually care.
Aaron,
Can I say one thing?
please.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Um, like I think that government has a place in certain things in the larger society, like infrastructure. Like government should, be in charge of like, using tax dollars responsibly
Yep.
to like pave roads and like, like do stuff like that. And public transportation, like our tax dollars should be used to be funded to like make sure that people that don't have a car can get to places around the city. And with like mail and like deliveries, the government should be in charge of that stuff because when it comes to like
We
larger
also have
things like
FedEx.
that would require like a lot of moving parts, and I think that that would ultimately like benefit society.
Well, I
But with that
mean,
being said, people are what do you call it, irresponsible and corrupt and greedy.
yeah.
So obviously it's not going to go that way. But like,
Yeah.
eh,
I would
like that
suggest
that's my
that
take.
you try to stay away from money cycle. Money cycle is entirely fake, and I would first establish the category of natural monopolies, which is power production, food production, electricity, and stuff like that.
Well,
That
there's
kind of
plenty of
thing.
antitrust laws in America. It's like
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. You can cheat the system 50 ways to Friday, but the fact is, state control thing does not require to make a profit. What you're, some of us are here
I'm not an
suggesting.
advocate for that though. The state controlling things. I don't really like that
Yeah,
concept.
I
I think
know
it's
you
like,
don't.
I think what you
You
should
would
do is
like
like,
you would like to have a control in private hands, which means someone else is going to plan and someone else is going to take a profit for it. That profit
actually,
is paid by me.
yeah, but ideally what I would think would be the best option is that people educate themselves on like what they want. And then when they're in a representative democracy, like in a social democratic country like we live in right now, like, and then you actually have people that are really
I
actually
challenge that
representing.
illusion, okay?
I
You're
mean,
not
that's
a,
the only
you,
that's one of the few solutions you have. It's
you
like,
know what Monopoly game does, don't you?
yeah, I mean,
There
media,
you go.
advertising.
There's your answer. There's your answer. There can be only one on the end. This is Highlander game, and if system doesn't work for me, why do you expect me to work for the system?
Well, that's a good question.
There we go. We came to some conclusion. Do you agree that if system doesn't work for me, there's no motivation for me to work for the system.
I mean, I get that, you know, but I just think in this instance with like this protest that happened on April 5th, like you know, I could be wrong, my opinion can be wrong, but I think all of those people are brainwashed. And I think that they went out there and made absolute fools of themselves. You know, and I think some of them were bussed there and paid. I think this is just a whole charade to like show this like fake support for something.
You think there was
That's
3
just
million?
please don't. That was a polite please don't.
Okay.
Uh-huh. Who's done what?
Do what you're doing.
What do you mean? What am I doing?
Don't siphon the so-called, you call it money, I call it they're siphoning resources and upwards and concentrating them on the top and neglecting the bottom.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I was talking more specifically about the protesting that was going on. I didn't even know.
Talking about
I saw it on the
embezzlement?
news. Well, I don't even watch the news. I saw some like video and I was like, oh, that's protest going on. And then I just like looked at it. I was like, what are they protesting? Hands off. I was like, hands off what? And then this charade started. And then I was like, oh, another stupid
You know, we
thing.
have a couple of 1,000 years of history behind us already, and these type of things are nothing new. And the thing is, if some processes are not stopped on the polite please don't level, they're going to escalate. It's just the way the things are. It's just
Yeah.
normal thing.
I don't know. It's just annoying.
Hey, can I ask a question real quick?
Yeah.
This is for Sludge.
What's up, buddy?
You know I'm a traveler. I've been hitchhiking back and forth for the last like week. What
Yeah.
was I didn't even know there was a protest. What was it about?
Okay, so I don't know if you've paid attention, but the current administration has fired a bunch of federal employees from multiple different positions, including nuclear safety, by the way. And they've cut vets benefits.
Is that true?
They're working on cutting health benefits and food assistance benefits.
But is that really true?
What do you mean? Is that really true?
Because I haven't found any evidence of what you're saying. I didn't see any cuts for that kind of stuff you were mentioning.
As I had mentioned, my best friend was in an unfireable position in the energy department in the United States.
Is there such thing as an unfireable position?
There is, yeah.
And
Well,
what
there
job?
It's called an essential position. There's people placed in certain roles that you should not fire because there's certain people that are qualified for those positions and whatnot.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
it doesn't
being
protect
fireable.
you from getting fired.
Oh,
Would
it's
you-
supposed because no one else can take that.
Let me ask you this: did you notice maybe shortage of eggs?
No.
No, you didn't. Okay. Did you notice a rise in the price of eggs?
Not really.
Okay, I
I
have
noticed
a
like a couple things, like
I have
stuff
a- I
that
have a
comes from
separate
like
question altogether.
overseas was like a little bit more. I don't know.
I have a separate question altogether. Aaron, my question for you is, what is your favorite color? Sorry, I could not handle any more having that conversation. That was starting to get ridiculous. There's no way anyone is that blind to what is going on. And if you are, I am so sorry.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Yeah, it seemed to be like willfully ignorant.
yeah,
Yeah,
either you're
when-
paid to make those fucking remarks or you are incredibly, incredibly unfortunate. How's it going, son?
Hey, Father. How you doing?
I'm all right. I've missed you. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm at my girlfriend's house right now.
Oh, okay. Fantastic.
Oh, nepotism? Am I witnessing nepotism here?
You girls.
My son.
This is how monopolies start.
Okay. Oh, all right. Back to the subject at hand. If you
I'll
want to
get
hang
to
out,
that.
no, if you want to hang out and have this conversation, I'd love to have you in here for this.
All right, all right.
Absolutely. Okay. So, so if they won't give us power, it is up to us as a society to take it. They won't meet our needs. We have to meet them ourselves. Mutual aid is revolutionary because it bypasses these systems. And it says from us to us that we are enough for us. From food shares to community defense to local assemblies, direct power is the antidote to state. So, my question, and I'm going to start off with Ruck on this one, or Banish. What's the difference, in your opinion, between charity and mutual aid?
Difference of charity and mutual aid is what it's not a good way for me to answer that first part of it. I'm just gonna skip over saying that part. Mutual aid, why it's important is it's by the people for the people. And charity, I'm just gonna say, charity can be led by the machine or whatnot and be very corrupt. Like, for instance, some places like a popular store, Goodwill, will sit there and say, "Hey, we'll take in donations. We'll do this back for the community," and they'll say it, but there's no proof that it's getting done. In fact, there's more proof that it's not getting done. Certain things that they've said they're doing back for the community, as where mutual aid is by the community for the community, and it more than not gets done more so than most charities by corporations and whatnot.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that input. Janira, in your opinion, what's the difference between charity and mutual aid?
I don't know what mutual aid means.
Ooh, all right, cool. I'm glad you're here. Prengiel, my
Yeah.
son, in your opinion, what is the difference between charity and mutual aid?
Charity is a lot more of it's a lot more one-sided, where it's one side giving it to the other, while mutual aid is more like a two-way street. I give, you give. It's more like a trade.
Okay. And King, in your opinion, what's the difference between mutual aid and charity?
I have no clue about the precise definition. It's just as a word, charity seems like something you can easily offload to someone else or pay for and forget about. Mutual aid would be kind of more mutual, but it's in my mind. I don't have a clue what the precise definition is. I don't care about the words that much. I care about the deeds, what it does.
So mutual aid is where the people take care of the people. It's where if, say, for example, your neighbor's tire goes out and they're not quite strong enough to push their car. So you step outside and you offer to help them push their car with no expectation of anything back, but with the understanding that if you were in the opposite shoes, they would help or someone would be there to help. Charity.
Yeah, we've discussed that bit. I said my type of helping others is not transactional. I do not necessarily expect at all something to come back.
Mutual aid is not transactional. It is just a mutual understanding that people will be there to take care of each other. That's it.
Yeah, all the good stuff, no problem with that.
And charity is, well, tax write-off fucking heaven. That's what the rich and the wealthy use to justify massive tax returns.
I think I would agree with that. It's kind of a cosmetic type of thing, trickle down economy and such, whatever. On the back end, they're still making money big time.
Yeah. Torstag, in your opinion, what's the difference between charity and mutual aid?
Charity is tax deductible. Mutual aid actually helps the community.
Love that. And Loon, in your opinion, what's the difference between mutual aid and charity?
With charity, it's just an easy way to make yourself feel better about how things are going. And with mutual aid, you actually make active differences in what you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you for your input. So,
Hold on.
Go ahead.
Can I say something?
Yeah, go ahead.
Since you guys taught me what mutual aid means, I think that based on my understanding of mutual aid, I have an idea.
السلام عليكم.
I would think that I would believe that charity is something like helping people outside of your community, while mutual aid would be helping people within your community.
Okay.
Uh,
That
that's
is the general face that they put on charity for sure, is that you're helping people you'll never see.
I did this here on the fly.
I am not sure about that because, for example, I had no problem helping. What was it? Rail Workers Union in the UK, and I didn't think it's a charity. I think should they win and get something positive done, that would help. So that would help
Host,
me
I thought you
too.
were black.
Such a thing makes a difference, does it?
Sorry, what was that? I was in the middle of a brief conversation. What was that, Janura?
Oh, I was just saying, I thought you were black.
Oh, no. I am indigenous, but very much separated from my family.
Gotcha. My bad. Don't mean to derail too much. I'm gonna
No, man.
mute myself again.
Yeah, no. Honestly, I appreciate it. Where was I? Oh yeah, mutual aid. Banish, have you ever received help or offered help to a mutual aid network?
I've received help definitely in the past from mutual aid with Narcan distribution and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And giving, I'm sure I have, but I can't recall many of those situations. Also, Nishamak.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. By the way, everyone, Miriam is up in the top left-hand corner. She is a survivor in Palestine, and if anybody has the ability to help out with some generosity, please do send it her way. Okay, Janura, have you ever experienced mutual aid or offered help in a mutual aid sort of fashion?
Well, I'm not quite sure because, like my understanding of mutual aid, I did just learn like a few
Yeah.
minutes ago.
Have you ever been helped
But
by a community with no expectation of return?
oh no,
Huh.
the place where I grew up, it was
Fair.
everyone for themselves.
Fair enough. Well, if you're interested in being part of a mutual aid network, we should talk.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Okay. So,
I'm pretty sure I follow you already.
بليز يا عمو
yeah,
ساعدني بليز get أفران سيري بليز
Mariam,
ساعدوني
Mariam,
يا
please,
عمو بليز
Mariam, please, please, honey.
بليز get يا عمو.
Okay. Love you, dear. Yes, I don't have any coins to give at the moment. Otherwise, I would. So let's talk about moving away from protest to practice, which is to, well, okay, so mass protests are visible, right? But visibility isn't the goal of a protest. Impact is the goal of a protest. When the crowd disperses, that's when the real work is supposed to begin. Small, committed groups can act fast, think long term, and build trust amongst each other. We don't need 1 million people to change the world. We need about 20 that just won't quit. So, Torsdag, how can small, committed groups be more effective than large crowds?
Smaller communities are easier to organize and to enact certain steps towards an outcome.
Okay. And Dwayne, how do you think small, committed groups can be more effective than larger crowds?
Well, small groups tend to be, they're more connected to the local community than the larger ones. I mean, it's, if you have a statewide group, they're really not going to have a lot of specific information on the individual counties or towns. And so, when people who actually live there know what's actually going on and the real circumstance of the situation, they can actually be more effective that way. Because if you live in a particularly poor part of a state, and the group is predominant, the leadership comes from like a wealthier part or upper middle class part of the state, they're not going to have any way to relate to you. So a local group can be more effective.
Okay. Thank you for your input, bud. King, how do you think that small, committed groups could be more effective than large crowds?
Small groups more effective than the large crowds. Well, easier to organize, I suppose. I don't know.
Easier to organize is a good answer. Let's see. Banish. How do you think small, committed groups can be more effective than large crowds?
Small groups are, again, easily organized. In my experience, when I've gone in places that have needed some assistance or some form of assistance, I tend to find the resources a lot easier in a smaller group because instead of having to go from one building to another building, talking to multiple different teams that don't really interact with each other, and it's a rat race of playing ping pong back and forth with the larger group as opposed to smaller communities like, oh well, this person over here, we've communicated with this and they know what's going on already, so it's easier to get things done.
Thank you very much. And Janura, how do you think small, committed groups can be more effective than large crowds?
I mean, like, pretty much just like what everyone else said. Easier to organize. Honestly speaking, it's more efficient. But I would say, like, depending on said group, like, it would be like less, uh, like I guess like you could throw that in. Like it'd be less diverse, and something like that. Like there's obviously like other things to like make a group more interesting, but like at the end of the day, a small group would be easier to manage.
And thank you for putting that in a TikTok safe way. What ways do you think that small committed groups can be more effective than large crowds?
It's a lot easier to get around without being seen or noticed.
Fair. And also very correct. So, what kind of work do you think could happen better in a private setting than in a public setting? And we'll start off with Banish on this one.
What type of work is better in a private? I'd say all the assistance going out to the unhoused community. I've seen a plethora of times where organizations or communities will they'll say they're going out to help the unhoused, and they spam blast it all over any form of media and whatnot. And at that point, it just feels so disingenuous and more like a way to get, clout and money and whatnot, that it's just like, wow, if you guys just would deal with it in the back scene instead of, plastering the person's face all over that already is in need of help, and that doesn't help out very much. Yet performative, that's the word I was thinking of. Thank you. Yeah, it would be way better off than, kind of just like, it almost embarrasses some people at some point when they're already down now and they need help, and now they're getting plastered over everything.
Well, thank you for your input, bud. Dwayne, what kind of work do you think can happen better in private than in public?
Oh, gee. I really don't have an answer right away. I have to think about that.
Okay, I'll come back to you. Torstag, what kind of work can happen better in private than in public?
Defensive strategies.
Valid. King, what kind of work can happen better in private than in public?
No idea. I would need to have some example. I suppose it would vary. I don't know what you have in mind. I'm usually not in favor of any kind of secrets and hiding.
أعطوني هدية الله يوفقك.
So
ميزان ميزان ساعدوني يا عمو.
for me, public is always better, but there must be exceptions. There's exceptions to everything, I suppose. I don't know. I would have to case by case. I can't imagine everything.
Fair enough. And Loon, what kind of work can happen better in private than in public?
Basically, anything you don't want the government to know.
Fair and valid. So let's talk about protecting your movement from co-option. The system doesn't need to crush a movement. It just needs to offer a paycheck. When movements rely on grants, foundations, nonprofits for survival, they often lose the freedom to challenge the very structures that fund them. We need independence from these things, and we need loyalty to people, not to programs, not to corporations. So, have you seen a movement shift its focus after getting funding or media attention? Banish?
Sorry, I had an ADHD squirrel moment. Could you repeat the question?
Yeah. Have you seen a movement shift its focus after getting funding or media attention?
Yes, for instance, like Black Lives Matter, if that when that movement was left to the by the people for the people, trying to, by the people for the people and whatnot, it was more genuine and whatnot. But as soon as the media grabbed it, it just became a crash grab of let's plaster this over this, let's make a T-shirt out of it, let's do this and that, so we can monetize it.
Valid. Janira, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to miss you on that last question. What kind of work can better happen in private than in public?
Oh, me?
Yes.
Oh, dang. I'm sorry. Like, you didn't have to do that. I really appreciate it, though.
I just want to make sure everybody gets a chance.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I think that banking should be public, and like stocks should be public, and like I mean, like I know, like in America, they say like in quotations, it is public, and like everybody knows it's not. But if they were actually made public, I think that it would actually benefit people in the country.
Okay. Thank you for your input, bud. And my next question for you, real quick, was: have you seen a movement shift its focus after getting funding or media attention?
Uh, after shit. Uh, yeah, I have. Do you remember like way earlier when I talked about uh that legitimate men's rights group?
Yeah.
Them, after they got a little bit of media attention, they were, essentially usurped from, like their organization, and then it became a joke.
Okay. Thank you for that input. How's it going, Blend?
Getting ready for work. Ready to take on the day. Superhero shit. Say again?
We're going to go burn some more metal?
Every day. Except for Saturdays and Sundays. They can't have me on those days. It's all mine.
Fair enough.
How's everyone doing?
Oh, we're doing all right. I got a question for you. Have you ever seen a movement, like a protest or a justice movement, shift its focus after getting funding or media attention?
I try to stay under rocks on shit like that, to tell you the truth. But yeah, it happens. It starts one way, and all of a sudden, it just boomerangs.
Yeah.
I've seen it.
Okay. So, Dwayne, have you ever seen a movement shift its focus after getting funding or media attention?
Yeah, I mean, groups like Greenpeace and Sea Shepherd, as soon as they get a bit of media attention, they seem to really go off the rails, Sea Shepherd, for example, they went to the point where they wouldn't even allow indigenous people to hunt whales for subsistence level, feeding themselves, like Native Alaskans and Native American people, hunting one whale a year so they can feed themselves. And, groups, and I'll even say it, Black Lives Matter, it seems to be more about like selling T-shirts. Or even here in Hawaii, we have a lot of these local Hawaiian rights organizations that you see all these people wearing the same T-shirt, and you got to wonder yourself, who's selling these shirts? And how much do they cost per person? Because back in 1895, here in Hawaii, there was an attempted counter-revolution to restore the monarchy. Okay. And this is, before the time of screen printing, right, or T-shirts. But people began to wear clothes with like blue stripes on them, like the prisoners' uniforms, in solidarity with the people who, the counter-revolutionaries who had attempted to restore the monarchy. And they just did that on their own. There was nobody out there selling shirts with like black and white stripes on them. Essentially every social movement, people seem to take that as an opportunity to sell things with the movement's logo on it. And you have people at the top of a movement, and I think in some cases, like Sea Shepherd especially, took their leadership and turned them into celebrities. People, for some reason, these people are experts on the environment when they really have no serious education in environmental science and how the natural world really works. And these people are against, like, for example, Sea Shepherd is against hunting any whales by anybody at any time for any reason. And that includes the Native Alaskan people who rely upon, hunting bowfin whales just to feed themselves. And it's just like, well, what about them? And when you ask them how these people are supposed to live up there, their response is, well, if you have to hunt whales to live where you live, then you should just move.
Stupid asses.
I mean, wait a minute. These people have been living there for over 10,000 years. Well, your pale, skinny ass has been living down in Europe or someplace. I mean, what business do you have, Mr. Caucasian, to tell these Native Alaskan people, these Inuits and these Greenlandic Inuits, where they can live simply because of their food source? You know what I mean? They get this holier-than-thou attitude that hunting any whales or seals or whatever at any time for any reason whatsoever is completely wrong all the time. You know what I mean? It's like, who the hell do you think you are? You know what I mean?
We can break that down even further. Who the hell they think they is making us pay taxes? Who the fuck is they making us pay for the food that it should be free? I can go out and get food for free. I don't need to pay for it in the supermarket. Why do we got to pay for this shit? Where did this shit come from? It's ridiculous.
Well, this is where I'm coming in, that there is exception to everything. And I was glad to notice that vegans, for example, are carving out niches for First Nations and stuff like that. And problems created by this modern developed society should not be thrown willy-nilly onto the First Nations, that's for sure. And unless they're really, really detrimental, unless we're talking about extinction of the species, I don't know. There's exceptions for everything.
Well, with them Alaskans and the Native Americans up there doing their whale hunting, they live off the land. They are one with the land. They are not overdoing it. They know what they're doing. They get their one well. They feed their whole village for the whole year. They're not out there poaching. They're one. They're in tune with Mother Nature up there. That's what they do. And you're gonna try to tell them that they can't eat their food, they can't do this. Fuck you. Fuck you. It's the other people who are up there poaching and taking what they should not be taking. It's not them Indians, it's not the Alaskans. That's what they do. That's their like spirit animals or some type of shit. Them seals. They know they're not taking babies and little fish. They're taking the big guys who've been around for a while. Come here, old soul. Come here, Moby Dick. We're gonna be dinner. We're gonna be dinner for the next year. That's how I see it. It's outsiders who are going up there for the thrill of the hunt. The thrill is just so they can say, "Hey, I caught a whale. I shot a whale." It's not. Right. It's not the. It's not them. That's my opinion.
Right. Yeah, it's like it's easy to be a vegan when you live in a developed country with the infrastructure that can facilitate your dietary choice.
Yes.
Whether you live in the high Arctic, where your choice of food is limited to what you can catch, what you can hunt and kill, and get back to your village, your choices are more limited. And so, I mean, I really don't have. I mean, all right, if someone wants to be a vegan, be my guest. But one thing I've always hated about vegans is how sanctimonious they get for people who choose to continue to eat meat, or people who eat meat because there's nothing else to live on. You know what I mean? When you're in the high Arctic, you know what? You can't go to the grocery store. You know, it's like you don't
You
have a
need
lot of
high
choices up
calorie
there.
nutrients in
Very
order
true.
to maintain body weight and maintain
Right.
nutrition and to like straight up be warm.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still bitter about how Sea Shepherd, that guy, what's his name, Paul Watson, almost drove a 16-year-old Native Alaskan boy to suicide because this one guy had participated in a hunt that caught a single bowhead whale, which he was able to feed not only his family and the people in his village, but neighboring villages for like 6 months.
That's
But
amazing.
he got all this hate because Paul Watson of Sea Shepherd focused on him, and so this guy got so much hate directed at him that he almost took his own life because of all the hate coming at him from people who didn't even know him, who'd never lived in where he lives.
And it's like that. There's one thing when it comes to native people, hunting specific species, is that they don't over hunt them.
Oh yeah, you're run out of
Also,
Like it
food.
doesn't matter what native like tribe it is, like whether that be in America or South America or Central America or so on and so forth. The people that grew up there, the people that were native to that area, do not overhunt the species that live in that area ever.
They know that that species is detrimental to their livelihoods.
Yeah,
Also,
exactly.
due to TikTok, we should be saying self deletion. They do not like that S
Oh,
word.
okay,
What did I say?
Thank you.
fair enough.
Yeah, yeah. But a lot of the people there know how to um, accommodate the ecosystem
They're in
in the
tune.
place that they're native to.
They're in tune with Mother Nature.
Dang, dang, that was pretty cool. I did that on the fly.
thank you guys for that lively bit of conversation and appreciation for the indigenous communities. It makes me really happy. So, in order to stay alive, a movement has to stay present through culture, art, and through disruption. Not through just stories, but also stories. And through these things, you make it impossible to look away from your cause. Your fight has to live in classrooms, in living rooms, songs, street corners. That's when movements don't just survive; they end up evolving
And it has to be in your face every fucking day.
every day.
In your face. Take this, take this, take this. Because once it's
So,
out of your face, it's out of your mind.
so Blend. How do you think we can use creativity to keep causes alive?
How can you continue to keep causing that? Keep it fresh. Change up. You can't keep pumping the same because it gets kind of bland. So you gotta add a little spice to it. You gotta get a little creative. Yeah, I don't know.
Absolutely. No, that was a good answer, man. Banish. How do you think we can use creativity
بليز
to
هدية
keep causes
بليز
alive?
بليز هدية بليز منى قاعد بليز.
Madam, you've got to stop doing that.
What
Love
was that
you.
again?
You've got to stop doing that. The question was, how do you think we can use creativity to keep our causes alive?
How can we? I feel if we want to keep the cause alive by using creativity, it would It'd definitely be.
It's good.
I just lost the words. I just totally lost the wording.
Hey, no worries, man. I'll come back to you, okay? Dwayne, how do you think we can use creativity to keep causes alive?
Well, not to stifle creativity. That's the problem. You know, a lot of movements that get started, and the people at the top, they don't allow like the membership, the general membership, to express themselves creatively. You know, they insist upon controlling the message at all times. Yeah, it was like an idea isn't a good idea unless the leadership has thought about it, and so that stifles the people in the general membership from coming up with ideas of their own. You know, you can think of a lot of movements over the years. I mean, I can think of several here in the history of Hawaii that were, you know, basically stillborn because the people at the top didn't like that idea because they didn't think of it themselves. You know, people need to be open to the idea of new thinking.
Okay. Thank you. Janura, how do you think we can use creativity to keep our causes alive?
Honestly, I think that that is a job for the younger generation because once we all get like tired and stuff, it's up to the younger generation to innovate, no matter what it is. It could be, technology, like education or food, art. It doesn't matter what it is. The people that are currently in charge have to take a step down in order for the next generation to actually like care about these things. Because when I was growing up, I um I went to like the MLK, like February, like Black History Month stuff, and it got to be stale, and I started to not care about it. And that's me as a black person because I wasn't allowed to like it felt like a relic instead of something that I was currently going through. So in order for these things to stay relevant, they need to be tailored or adapted to the younger generation so that way they can continue it instead of passing on the things that we have been passing on because some of the stuff that the older generation has
Cre-
doesn't work.
Creativity, like putting paint on an old brick building.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, creativity is like putting paint on an old brick building.
Oh, I'm sorry, one more time.
Being creative with it is like putting paint on the brick building. It
Yeah.
lively brings it back. It
Hmm.
rejuvenates it. It
Yep,
makes it
brings.
more
Yep,
lively.
exactly.
It picks it up. It gives it a new
Hmm.
face. It's
Yep,
makes it more
breathes
attractive.
life into it.
It brings in more. It brings in newer eyes, newer views. You just got to keep on evolving with the creativity. Otherwise, like you said, you're going to hit a point where it's just going to stop. You're going to hit a brick
Yep.
wall, and it's not going to go any further because you have to. You have to
Hmm.
advance by being creative. You got to change things. You got to.
Yeah.
You got to like.
Yeah.
How do you say? You got to move them pieces around to fit the board and make the board more
Yeah.
justifiable to your cause.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I had my time to be creative. It's time for the next generation to be creative. That's my answer.
Yeah, but you can't always focus on the next generation because the next generation, some of them going to be leaders, some are going to be this, some are going to. You got to keep going. That's it.
I mean, it was the same with every generation before that.
And you got to pass the torch. They got to step up and take it.
I mean, logically speaking, that's not true.
Well, the way I see it, they got to step up and take it. You can give somebody something, and they don't really want it.
Am I gonna hand it to them, or they or or are they going to be like taking it from, like bony fingers?
It,
Like
it,
that's
it,
how I see that.
we got to be what is that, the circuit track team where you handed the baton. They got to put their hand out. They got to want it. They got to be reaching back, like, give it to me here. Otherwise, it's like you're just giving it to somebody who really doesn't want to run.
Okay, that's where we have a difference in like opinion, because I think that they deserve it.
Say again?
I said that's where the difference in opinion is, because I believe that they deserve it,
Oh, I didn't say don't deserve.
regardless of whether or not they want it. They
I didn't
should be
say don't.
treated better and to like push forward.
Actually, that's so interesting. I do have a question about that as someone who's 22 and part of said generation that you're talking about. What exactly is it that you think that we are not doing? Because hear me out, we are the newest adults. You guys are the ones who should have been picking up after this and figuring this out, not us. We are,
Whoa,
like, I have voted once, I've been able to vote once, alright? Hear me out, I definitely understand everybody needs to step up, but don't act like it's the people who are younger than you's fault when you guys are the ones who were in charge of the world before us.
I was never in charge of the world. I'm just part of it. I'm just living in it. I'm trying to
yeah.
survive. Young
It's
lady.
a little bit more nuanced than that,
Not you, I was
because
talking to Janura, because honestly, let's
In
all take
general.
some accountability. We
In
all
general.
have
It's
not
not.
yeah,
stepped up
I mean
enough.
like
But the
I mean
youngest
like yes.
generation, they're definitely not the ones who haven't stepped up the most, you know what I mean? Because everyone before that was able to do something and also didn't. Everyone
Wait,
needs to step up at this point, you're right. But it's definitely not all on the youngest generation to figure out how to do everything when we've inherited a world that has already been like this.
And
We're
so this
barely
is.
no,
adults.
no. I'm saying like what I was trying to say is it is up to you guys to decide your path.
Yeah.
Like I can't tell you how to live your life. That doesn't make any sense. Like yes, obviously like my generation, because I'm a millennial and I'm a young one at that. Like I'm gonna be 30 next month. Like my generation has not been in control of really anything, because like the like baby boomers have been in control for like the last like 50 years. Jeez, man.
That's what makes it even sadder that you're falling into the societal trap of the younger generation
Yeah.
needs to pick up and do all this stuff by themselves because they're ungrateful, etc., etc.
Wait, what? I'm sorry.
I mean, that's kind of what it sounded like you were implying. I just
No,
don't know why
I
so
was
much
saying
hostility.
that the younger generation deserves to make their own way through the world. Who am I to decide anything for them?
I mean, I agree on that point, but that's not at all what it sounded like when you were framing it earlier. So maybe I just misunderstood you.
Yep. He just tried
I
to
mean,
rephrase it for you. Just try to make it a little bit more easier, to hear where he coming from.
yeah, like
That's what he was trying to say to you, Bloomer. That's
Thank you,
it.
friend. I do in fact understand that, but your explanation was very helpful.
it's like, oh yeah,
I
I
think
said that my answer is the younger generation should figure it out. I was a little bit rough. What I meant was, I think that I shouldn't decide anything for the people that are going to be actually alive and in charge of the planet. I shouldn't be making decisions for them preemptively, the same way that baby boomers have been making decisions for all of us for the last 40 years. I don't believe in that. I should have said it
this is a
differently.
language issue. Don't worry about it. It's just nice thoughts. It's not affecting anything. The problem is that still the older generation has a finger on the buttons. And the thing is, it's still on us to stop the processes because we are technically in the control. Namely, at this particular moment, I'm thinking about issues within Microsoft and all these internet platforms that are supporting what's happening in Palestine. that is where only those who are in control of those platforms can do something. So yeah, you can't blame this. It is up to those who are in control, and we can see, or we know what is happening to dissenting voices.
Like,
They're being fired. Even those whistleblowers are being sued and stuff. Ridiculous stuff is happening all over the place.
like
I feel
in
like
America, most of the people in power have like 20 to 30 years on me. And those are the people that are going to be like in charge for an amount of time that we don't even know. Like there are people in like the Senate right now in America that are older than my great grandparents. Granted, yes, my great grandparents are pretty young, but like, why should an 80-year-old person be making decisions for a 22-year-old?
yeah, that's part of the problem is because when you have these people that the people who are running this game, well, they're running the machine are so out of touch with how how the world was moving and the steps were going in the ways that we want to see it go. That like, oh well, back when we were at your age back then, decades ago, this is how the world was. I'm like, well, that's not how the world is now, and we want this change because this is how the world is now, and we need this change to happen now, not in 40, 50 years when we finally get control of the office and
It's,
whatnot. We need to have
it's
it
like
now and whatnot.
there are people in the Senate right now that like remember Jim Crow. Like, why would I listen to them?
Exactly. I mean, that's part of it. It's like we're not divided. Well, what we are divided, but we're not in those areas anymore where we have that divide where it makes sense to have these laws. We're all trying to unite and be part of one type of thing.
All right.
Okay.
I wanted to leave some space there for that discourse to go ahead and finish its way up. Are y'all ready to get back to the conversation? I'll take that as a yes. Okay. So, the protests are the spark, the thing that starts everything off. But the strategy is the firewood. Every movement needs goals, timelines, tactics, fallbacks, roles. Without them, we get lost in the noise. But with them, we can build empires. And we don't win by chance. We win with a plan. So, the question, and I'll start off with Blend on this one. What long-term goals would you actually fight for?
What long-term goals would I fight for? For myself? Goals for myself, or for? I'm kind of behind on this. I'm lost.
Yourself and your community.
Well, I'm trying to get off the plantation. That's my goal. Get off the plantation. For the community. Once I get off the plantation, maybe I can give back a little bit.
Okay.
Give back a little events, summertime cookouts, fish fries.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. I'm trying to open my own entertainment company, so I'll be able to give back that way.
What I'm hearing is financial independence.
How does the crematory have a
What I'm hearing is financial independence. Okay.
Financial freedom.
Yeah. Banish. What long-term goals would you actually fight for?
For in a community sense,
for yourself and your
Then-
community.
Well, for the community sense, easy for that. That one is easy. Like more unification between everyone to realize, like, hey, we all breathe the same air. We all drink water. We all do the same type of things to get by and survive in this world. And it'd be nice to see us all unify. I'd fight for that. For myself, I don't really even know.
Okay. I can hear you typing, Blend. Thanks for coming in, man. I hope you have a good day at work.
Yeah, whatever that means. Y'all have a good one.
You too, buddy. Dwayne, what long-term goals would you actually fight for?
Well, universal health care. That's one. And bodily autonomy for women.
That's what I love about you, man. What I love about you. Janura, what long-term goals would you fight, or would you actually fight for yourself and your community?
Um, to not be wrongfully um subtracted from the population by public servants.
That's a big one. That is a big one. King, what long-term goals would you actually fight for your community?
I'd like to push some humans into humanity into humans. That's all, I suppose, in various ways. Basically, fighting the bad aspects of today's society, and there's plenty to choose from. It's just establishing some more decent kind of society and norms, less exploitative, less silly. It's not silly, it's criminal, I suppose.
I like that we have roughly the same long-term goals. That's cool. Loon, what long-term goals would you actually fight for?
I'd probably have to say human rights, food, water, shelter, the basics that aren't recognized in our society.
Okay. Now, for those of you who've been actively involved in protests, why do you think movements often avoid strategy? We'll start off with Banish.
Yeah. Do you want to repeat that one more time?
Yeah. Why do you think movements often avoid using strategy?
Because strategizing an organization takes a lot more time and a lot more resources and energy, and sometimes when people want to kickstart a movement right off the get-go, it is a lot harder to take the necessary time and get the resources to do so.
Okay. Janura, why do you think movements often avoid strategies?
Honestly, like I don't quite understand the question.
So, one of the things that are causing a lot of these movements to not go anywhere is the fact that they're not strategizing. They're just doing the protest thing and then hoping the protest goes somewhere and nothing happens. Why do you think that these movements are often avoiding strategizing?
Um, I don't think that they're doing that on purpose. I think that that's just something that happens with the um the sheer amount of people like that are like trying to be present within, a protest. I mean, like I, I would have trouble coordinating 100 people. I think it's just a byproduct of trying to get so many individuals that think differently and have had so many different life experiences to be a part of one event. But also, I could be wrong. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, the suffragettes protested in ways and were able to get women the right to vote. The civil rights movement protested in many ways and was able to achieve a form of better treatment for black and brown individuals, and also the right to vote. Well,
Would you say that those two groups of um, people that protested were more or less very similar?
um, in their treatment, yeah.
No, in their identity.
Uh, which are we talking about? The suffragettes and the civil rights movement?
Yes.
I
Like, would you say
mean,
that people that participated in either or of those protests were they more or less the same?
I know that the civil rights movement uh, was mostly for the freedom and liberation of black individuals in the United States, but it was also uh, uh, heavily populated with indigenous peoples, Hispanic peoples, and so on.
My specific question was those people that participated in those protests, were they
Uh-huh.
more or less the same? Not what those protests um
I don't understand what you
like
mean by the same.
like when a bunch of people like have had very similar experiences, would it be easier for them to be a collective versus a bunch of different people with different life experiences?
I mean, I think everybody has a different life experience from everyone else. We may have similarities and they may rhyme, but everyone has their own individual experience. But I will say that the protests that are happening now, the people who are getting involved in those protests are either doing so for clout or they're doing so because they're being directly affected by the injustice that's happening.
Agreed.
Which would be the same for the civil rights movement in the 50s and 60s, and also the suffragettes. I mean, any major protest throughout all of history. There's people who are going to go because it's going to make them look better to their friends, and then there's people who are going to go because they're being affected or they care about someone who's being affected.
Yeah, agree. Yeah, I agree. Um, like my only point was like what I was saying was during the civil rights movement, most of the people that protested were Black Americans. Yes, there were um white Americans and Native Americans and Mexican Americans and most likely Asian Americans as well that also helped
Yeah.
protest. But the majority of the people participating were Black Americans or people that were adjacent
Yeah.
that understood, the like the plight. So therefore, it was easier to coordinate them.
Yeah.
And
Well, that's
like as
because
of now,
there was an overreaching goal, which was the liberation and fair treatment. And
yeah,
today, with the protests going on today, there is still that same goal. And it's a little altered now because it's about people being paid appropriately, but
it's been co-opted by
it definitely has. Yeah.
Yeah, but like that's a whole other thing. Like, I'm sorry, like I don't want to get too off track. You have other people to talk to.
Well, go ahead and finish what you were thinking.
No, I'm good. I
Okay,
finished my
perfect.
thought.
Okay. So King, why do you think that movements often avoid strategizing?
Well, I'm thinking now. One obstacle is because I know what the values I have, and I don't want to hide them. So that's not strategically a good move, because let's suppose that I do identify an opponent. I shouldn't allow them a privilege of seeing them, giving them opportunities to see me coming. So basically, while I'm fighting for my ideas, if I actually wanted to do something, I shouldn't give opponent a foresight into my movements, which is again against my own principle that everything should be on the open, and that's just I'm going nuts. I can't figure this one out. I'm in the loop chasing my own tail, possibly biting it as well.
Well, I think it's a good thought experiment to put yourself through. Dwayne, did I already ask you this question? Why do you think movements often avoid strategizing? Dwayne? There you are.
Okay. Yeah, I think the people tend not to strategize because strategizing involves long term thinking. I think a lot of groups are stuck in short term goals for short term gains. Because when you think long term, that requires a great deal of thought and commitment, and people really don't have really the ability to think long term. So they go for short term goals, which are easier to obtain, and they might not obtain anything in the long term. I think it just simply comes down to laziness on the part of a lot of people.
Okay. So I think something that needs to be hold on. Loon, why do you think that movements often avoid strategizing?
Because we've fostered a kind of society where it's normal to be distrustful of people. It's normal to not be able to trust all of the people around you. So it's a lot harder when you get together to do something risky that could get you in a lot of trouble when you're used to not being able to trust anyone.
Okay. Pixa, come on up. So I feel like movements avoid strategizing because they're overwhelmed with causes. And the thing is, you don't have to fight everything. You just have to fight one thing and keep fighting it. The system has a tendency to overwhelm us with causes until we are burned out. But focused resistance is the thing that can change history. So you have to choose your lane, commit to it, and then build along others who have chosen their lane. You know what I mean? So, Janura, what issue hits home for you more than anything else?
Um, if because I feel like I should answer this question in two parts. Um, the first answer is I don't believe that public servants should be subtracting citizens of a country that they are charged with protecting from the population without any punishment. I think
I
that's
would,
immoral.
I 100% agree.
Regardless of race, creed, social class, and I believe that the second part of the question that I'm gonna answer is, I mean, just be decent. It's that simple, right? We all deserve food, shelter, water. Like we should all be treated with respect, and I will continue to fight for that, regardless of anything standing in the way.
And I think that's where we get along quite well. Dwayne, what issue hits home for you more than any other?
All the rights of indigenous peoples. Being an indigenous person myself, I can personally relate how people sometimes try to co-opt culture of indigenous people, including my own, and in order to try to co-opt it and turn it into like a prop they can use for their own causes. But it's easy to go like for short-term gain in the hopes of getting maybe perhaps long-term goals, but they leave a lot of wreckage behind themselves. And for me, it's just something that turns me off a lot of times, becoming more active. Sure, I'm just really tired right now.
You're good, buddy.
Yeah.
You're good. And thank you for your answer. King, what issue hits home for you more than any other?
Well, what seems to be most in my face is this parasitic drain, but that hits the distribution of resources. But otherwise, there's education, and media, which keeps us from noticing what's going on. Lack of debate, promotion of silly divisions. It's just so ludicrous on so many aspects that I wouldn't know where to start from. To be honest, I think it has to be a multifaceted approach to start with. But let's say that if we had time, education would be a good point, and the media to propagate said education and debates. And then I suppose, armed with proper knowledge, we could attack this distribution issue type of thing, which is a parasitic layer. But primarily at the moment, it seems to be this parasitic type of thing where value is extracted to absurd levels and affecting the majority.
That is a heavy issue. Pixa, what issue hits home for you more than any other right now?
Human rights, rights of people to be who they are, to appear how they wish to appear, to love who they love, and bodily autonomy. I mean, not that all of these things mentioned are not really, really important, but this is what hits me.
Okay. And thank you for your input. And Loon, what issue hits home for you more than any other?
I guess it's really the splitting of human rights to certain people and not to others. Like one great point I've heard recently was that if you can buy a citizenship here, then the only crime that undocumented people have committed is being poor. Because if there's really no actual process you have to go through other than just paying a large sum of money, then really all they've done is not pay hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Okay. And thank you for your input. So, Janura, what's stopping you from committing to your issue?
Burnout.
Burnout. Yeah.
I have a child to raise.
Yeah, of
I'm
course.
tired. I have a job to work, bills,
I'm at the original Masses Factory.
Yeah.
and
It's valid.
I can't extend myself anymore.
That's valid, man. What about you, Dwayne? What's stopping you from committing fully to your issues?
Just my own personal issues right now,
Fair enough.
including health.
Yeah. Fair enough. What about you, King? What's stopping you from committing to your issues fully right now?
I don't know, time, resources, health, you name it. I'm in the rat race like everyone else, I suppose. It's hard to jump out and dedicate time and resources to something that might get me in further trouble, more trouble than I'm in already.
Okay.
But otherwise, there's nothing. It's just, I don't know.
Okay.
Question is, what can I do?
Yeah,
That's
that is
the
a good
real
question.
Okay. Can I even reach someone who's in authority? Can I come close to someone who's in authority?
That is a good question.
That is my thing. Those guys which I would like to have a few kind words with, I'm not likely to get anywhere close to them at all. That's the problem.
Okay. Thank you for your input. Pixa, what's stopping you from committing to your issues fully?
Well, two things really in equal measure. One is I'm going through a lot of health issues. The other thing is I'm feeling a little jaded, a little apathetic. Like there was this huge march thing last Saturday, and then I hear like over the next couple of days people saying, "Oh, well, that was just white women. That nobody else went," and I still don't understand what or why, and it doesn't matter now. But the fact is that people are marching and protesting constantly now, and there's nobody paying attention. It doesn't get media coverage. The local, forces that be just let you do your thing and go home, and it doesn't change anything at all. And these little boycotts that we're doing, they don't amount to enough to matter.
Okay. Thank you for your input. Loon, what's stopping you from committing to your issues right now?
I guess it would be resources mostly.
Okay. So movements don't live in marches. They live in how we treat each other, by what we spend our time and attention on, and how we teach our children, and how we build our neighborhoods. When the resistance that you are trying to put forth becomes a daily operation, it becomes unstoppable. If you were to live your values every single day, if you were to show resistance in your life right now, what would be the one habit that you would be changing to support your cause? Janura?
My bad. Well, I'm pretty sure I bragged about this earlier. I raised my child, he's a boy, very, very differently than the way that I was raised. Um, I mean, like, I don't know for sure whether or not he's gonna be like, a terrible person, but he's ahead of the curve, and that has to be, okay for now. And I just resigned from being a teacher. Um,
Thank you for your
I
service.
spent, thank you, appreciate it. I spent a lot of my time. I specialize in social emotional learning skills, so teaching kids how to process their emotions and how to handle them in a social setting. And that's what I did. And you never know like what's gonna happen, but that's the change that I decided to make. Because if you start with the younger ones, then you change society overall. Like maybe not in our lifetime or whatever, but like their society will be better than ours if you teach them young.
I agree. Dwayne, what's one daily habit you would be changing to support your cause?
Taking better care of myself, for one thing. I had an accident recently where I broke a few ribs, so it took me about a month to recover from that. Um, I need to learn how to eat better and get more rest. And that was it was quite a rough month there, waiting for my ribs to heal on their own. So I had to stop and relax and take better care of myself so that my problem didn't escalate. So I just really need to learn how to take better care of myself. That's all there is.
Okay. King, what would be the one daily habit you would be changing to support your cause?
I don't know if I was aware of the better way to go through this maze. I would like to think that I would have taken it, but within the scope of opportunities and what society offers me, I just hope I did what I could, but I don't think I'm in control of this thing.
Okay. Thank you for your input. Fixa, what would be the one daily habit you'd be changing to support your cause?
Well, I think going back to what I don't know how to say that. Janura said, it the only hope that we have are the children, are the younger generations, are the ones who have that we've been teaching them better values, better coping skills than what we were raised with. So the one thing that if I could and would that I should do is to somehow be more involved with younger people. But unfortunately, one of my failings is I'm not good with kids.
Okay. Okay. What about you, Loon? What would be the one daily habit you'd be changing to support your cause?
Eating better, maybe? Because honestly, I probably do need to start doing that so I feel better and can, actually do stuff.
Taking better care of your health. Okay. Okay. So, tonight, we've exposed the myth of the protest as the revolution. We broke down how systems absorb, redirect, and wait us out. We examined the emotional aftermath, the threats that power actually fears, and the tools to move from symbolic outrage to structural change. We've asked ourselves, what do we do when the march ends and nothing has changed? And we remember the true movement begins after the protests. Because the people still have power, it just needs direction. So what now? You screamed your throat dry, you walked until your feet blistered, you believed, and nothing changed. Or so it seems. But let me tell you a truth that tyrants don't want you to remember. No march has ever changed the world. But the people who marched have. What they did after the march, how they organized, what they built, that's the fire. You're not powerless, you're unpracticed. The street was the beginning, not the end, so build, link up. Get quiet if you need to, but don't disappear. The revolution is quieter than you think. It's a whispered plan in a hallway. It's a food passed hand to hand. It's watching your neighbor's kid while they hit a meeting. It's holding the line when the world says, let it go. Don't let it go. 3 million people marched. And maybe the laws didn't change. Maybe society didn't change. But what if 3 million organized? What if they stopped shopping? What if they stopped working? What if they stopped obeying? What if they started living like they were already free? That's how the walls fall. I want to thank my panelists for joining me for another episode of Interviewing Humanity. As always, I've been Sludge Knuckle. Thank you, panel. Thank you to the people in the streets, to those still holding the line when no one's watching. You're not alone. We're not done. Let's make sure they never forget that we were here. Again, I've been Sludge Knuckle, and I'll see you guys next time on the next episode of Interviewing Humanity. Take care, everybody.
Love you.
Love
Peace out, y'all.